What's up, everybody? This is the poker coaching study session. Today, we're going to be looking at
some hands that I marked from the past 2 weeks, hands that I thought were interesting. We'll start here. We've got guy opens ace jack, perfectly reasonable, calls queen seven, too wide, but that's what he did. Why is this interesting? Let's find out. Ace jack from out of position. He can do a lot of checking here. He does. He can check call or check raise this. Both are good. The guy bets big size against big size. We check raise less often. So let's see what he chooses to do. He goes for the raise. Queen seven, having absolute nothing. I don't know why this is marked. There's no reason for that to be marked. Well, that was fun. All right.
I would imagine the ace jack does not want to check raise very often to that size.
Maybe it was that. Maybe
Agree.
it was to look up whether that was true.
A little big.
That
Yeah,
is
on this board in particular.
Yeah. So talk about that. Maybe that was why I marked it.
That's my only. I mean, obviously the queen seven hand, like that nobody's playing that queen seven here.
Yeah.
Like if you showed us this hand, if you were villain, if with ace jack there, everything was fine.
Yeah.
You know, if we didn't know the villain three's hand and
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I just don't think there's too much check raising low jack versus button on that ace low board. That's my theory. That's my guess.
Maybe that's why I marked it, to look and saying it didn't matter what he did, but against that size, does he get to check raise? All right. So
Anybody else think that check raise is kind of thin?
Yeah,
I don't know what
I would imagine we do get some check raises with ace king, less so at that sizing.
Yeah, ace king, ace queen, maybe. I think ace jack's kind of like that
But
threshold where
I think
it
check
doesn't
raises
make
with ace.
sense.
right.
Yeah, I think well, I think ace queen in theory is flatted at some frequency in button.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's gonna mean that we don't have check raises as often.
Right. So if you look at this, he can the ace, he can bet out his ace jack for all he cares, which is just fine.
Well, notice you're using 8 max under the gun here instead of low jack.
Oh, did I hit it under the gun? That was just a mistake.
So if you notice, there is no ace jack off even.
Yeah,
And
that
so
was
here's
yeah. This is what I want to do. Okay. Now. I might have the wrong suits, but I don't care. All right. So here, the low jack can bet out his ace jack. Doesn't have to. He's going pretty linear, not reverse linear with his top pair based on his kicker.
and a lot of checking as you suspected.
Yep. Totally fine to check. And when he checks against the normal small bet, I suspect we're going to see a fair amount of check raising. We do not. Only the ace
Yeah,
king.
we have kicker issues. I mean, so.
Yeah.
Can you confirm button has ace queen in theory? Yeah, at
Yep,
some frequency.
I'll go pop back over to that in a second. I don't want to lose if I go there, I might lose my flop. So I'm going to just
Okay.
look at this and then go back. All right. So you really want ace king to do it.
Yeah.
And the ace queens that do it don't need, the ace queens that do it, they don't need a backdoor.
And if you just click on the button node after the flop, you'll be able to see if they have ace queen or not.
Oh, that was easy. They have ace queen. They've betted away a little bit.
Yeah, so we're not interested in check raising here in theory.
But when he goes to this size, our check raises disappear. They just disappear. That's why I put this one up. You have these check raises with pocket fives, but you just never have pocket fives. So your overall raising range is not. Okay. That was the total thing of it. All right. If I'm in the hand, we're not going to show the whole cards. We're going to play it out. Derek, the next one is yours.
All right.
All right. I'm in the hand. All right. So play the hand, Derek.
I hate like offsuit broadways. That's
You moved too far away from your mic, Derek.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yeah, you're perfect now.
That's
Okay.
better.
Now you're perfect.
Okay, I'm not a fan of Queen King in this, so I'd be fine folding this like half the time.
Okay,
Like
I think that's
half
too
the time.
tight from the hijack. From the hijack, you got to be playing king queen.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
full equity.
you should
Even-
love
even
this in
with-
the hijack.
Okay.
This
I will
this
say
could-
though, I bet that's part of the reason that you have a high win rate is that you're playing against loose players and you have a tight opening range. That's always gonna
Yeah.
improve. your win rate.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
might be.
Although I
play-
agree, this is a little bit too far. I think you
Yeah.
need to open this.
So I'm playing this half the time.
All right, so this half the time you played it.
Okay.
But I will say also, I mean, this is a tough hand to play if you're gonna get three flats like this behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a hand that does not play well multi-way.
Yeah. it's
It,
not.
it wants to just have one. So if I were playing it, I would bet more than, like, say if I'm playing like 1-3, I'm gonna make it huge, right?
Right. So you're
So
gonna try to.
I'm gonna make
you're
it
gonna really fight to get
25.
Yeah, you're gonna really fight to get it heads up. Okay.
Yeah. So this is so basically, this is the worst case scenario. An
Yep.
overcard came to my and I'm facing 3 players. So this is a check all day.
Yep. Yeah, we check all day. Checks around. Oh, this card's good.
This is a good card. So we might have the best hand here. Someone bets tiny. We'll just call this.
Yeah. I don't hate folding here even. But
Yeah.
calls
I'm fine folding here too.
Yeah.
Now we fold.
Yeah, of course. Now we fold. Everybody folds. Right. And so here's the entertainment value of this hand. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the play of the hand was almost automatic there.
That's a pretty
Unbelievable.
fierce bluff. He's bluffing into,
Yeah. Yeah. Super bad here. Perfectly fine here.
yeah,
Sure.
agreed.
Great. Yeah, this all makes sense. So what does this guy see? Or is this just insanity that worked this one time?
Yeah, I mean, he's seeing capped ranges, right? So he's playing a little bit street and he sees that UTG let out for a small size and there was no raise behind. He
Yeah.
thinks that it's profitable because there aren't enough traps, there aren't enough 6x, there aren't enough ace queen behind.
Mhm.
And so he's listening to bet sizes. I don't, he knows he doesn't have the best hand because there's 4 callers.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, I mean, I would shy away from trying to bluff 3 people off a hand. It seems, I wouldn't do it.
I like
I
the
might
bet
do it with
size, though.
like, I might do it with some kind of combo draw, like maybe if I had like
4-5.
4-5 or king 10 of diamonds.
Drawing to a set.
Maybe he likes blocking flushes. It seems very aggressive and I mean, I don't know much about bluffing multi-way. I don't think I would do this.
Yeah, I mean, it has one nice reverse Joey to it, which is saying, against this many, once he gets the second call, that even your ace is weak. You got to worry about just an ace. And the two of us have really, really said, if we have an ace, it's a bad ace.
Yeah,
He's the
But-
only one who can have one. And how good can his ace be when he didn't squeeze pre-flop? Is it possible that this guy is really, really good?
how many hands does he play? 21 hands and his VPIP's 48?
Nope, he's not very good. All right, it's not.
Yeah,
He's just
I would
crazy.
say
Okay.
he's not very good,
Right,
but
good
this
idea.
is, I mean,
Alright.
but I don't think we need to entirely dismiss street poker. I mean, this is
Yeah.
street poker. We see very small bet size of what, B25 and then 2 flats. Everybody looks capped.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Larry, you're up.
We opened this in the cutoff.
Mhm.
I'm not always comfortable opening this hand, but we're supposed to open it. This hand 10-7. You get 3-bet by the button, and what does it fold around to you?
Yeah.
It's a tough one,
No,
but
it's
I think
not.
generally we just fold.
It's not tough at all.
Okay, it's not tough. We fold.
I believe that this is gonna surprise you. This was the 2.5 raise, 3-bet, back on the cutoff. That it has even a sliver of it, even a sliver.
All right, sliver, sliver.
So I slivered it. It's just yeah, I slivered it. Just so I could make my life worse.
So what do we have here? We have a gutter,
Right.
we have bottom pair, we have a back door.
Yeah, so let's
And
acknowledge,
a bot-
let's acknowledge that
again?
folding pre-flop is the right thing, is a much better choice than
Yeah,
this.
it's folding pre-flop against a
Right.
probably more linear than it should be 3-bet ranges, I think. So,
And- Yeah, and let's just start with that. Okay,
so, we're gonna check out of position. He checks. Um, so sensibly this ace is better for him. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think both of you have some aces, but he's got the best aces.
Yeah.
You don't have ace king. Um, you've got a marginal hand and you've got
two great draws.
two great draws. Yeah.
One good draw and one great draw. But unfortunately my great draw is out of position, so it's gonna be hard to make a lot of money with it.
I don't think I'm particularly interested in bluffing this card because yeah, I don't think I'm interested in bluffing this card. I mean, my
Plus
argument
we
would be that
call.
the ace is better for him in
Yep.
his range, and um, if he does some kind of spazzy raise after you bet on turn here, you're gonna call with this much equity, but
But why
it's
put all
not,
that money? Yeah,
it's not necessary
yeah, I
on
agree.
check. Yeah, so I mean, you do have, this is a pretty big bet. Um, I mean, you can, it's very gangster to check raise here, but generally I think we would call.
Call the size.
Okay.
And yay, we got there one of the ways. We have the second nut.
Yeah. So, after he makes that big size, I don't think we need to, I don't think we donk. And if we do dunk, it should be a BSTI sizing.
Yeah, we lose to king 10,
Yeah.
but so I did bet out. I and get called by ace queen. Yeah, so the question is here, it's what to do on the river. I
Yeah,
never know.
I think it's a question. This is a very interesting hand.
So if we check, he will sometimes bet ace queen and sometimes check it. But we probably don't check raise, do we?
Um,
On the, you're talking river, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the
yeah,
river.
I would think the second nuts are good enough.
Yeah.
And just
You
and just
want to put this in the solver?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'll put it in the solver and you guys can move forward.
Okay.
I don't
Mike
know
is
about
next.
the people that you play, but the people that I play don't even find straights. You know,
Okay. So in which case you could check raise this all day.
so I'd rather have a straight than a flush
Yeah.
sometimes because um people can see the flush,
Yeah,
but they'd miss the straights.
right.
Like
If you
do you find that?
no, I
Okay, you're
mean,
playing at
not the
same time
one
you're
card
playing this.
straights. I think people see, I think one card straights are easy to see.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah,
card
but there's some
straights.
weird straights that they just miss, you know.
All right, do you guys want to look at this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, okay. So we do have, so I made it NL 500, so we have 10-8 suited more, which we do about
Okay.
half the time here.
Oh, you mean at NL 500, we call the, we call the, we call with the 10
call
eight.
it more with less
Yeah.
rank.
Okay.
Flop. And then. Yeah, I'm
We
just
check
very
range.
quickly. Yeah, he's got a massive range advantage here.
Yeah.
So we check. I don't know if he's gonna check with this combo. He checked, right?
Yep, he surprisingly checked ace queen.
Yeah, so he's supposed to bet a lot on this. This is a really good flop for him.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to bet a lot, but when he checks, we're gonna get our first question. When the ace of diamonds comes. We have some very polarizing sizing.
Yeah,
We're
like
supposed to use
that.
polarizing sizing here. 10-8 is
10-8, every 10-8 is never checking. How
10-8
crazy, look at that.
really loves to go after it here. Now I'm surprised because I think that I think it's just too much of a simplification
Yeah,
to say this ace is good for him. Like when this ace comes. It does really switch. Let me see. So here one goes check, check. 59. And then cut off. Yeah, the ace is good for him.
ace is good for him,
Top pair.
but 10-8 just loves it.
So it's 15% of his range, and he has a much wider range than we do.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he's not, and also I think he is maybe checking a lot with aces, ace X. Anyway, yeah, so it doesn't really, it's really, he's really leading here. But
Yeah.
maybe in theory, that makes sense that we have this very polarizing strat where we're checking 80% of the time. And then when we do bet, we're betting a very polarizing sizing.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. Like we see it over and over again. High check frequency, our bet sizes are polarizing. But yeah, your hand is.
You know what this is gonna do? It's going to kind of ruin our line. We won't be able to
Because we don't
see what
exist
we're
in
supposed to
10-8.
do on the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have to cheat it with 8-9 and give it a 10. But then brings in ace king in a different way. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway,
The combo draw loves, yeah, it loves to go for it.
yeah,
And
it
you
really
can
does.
Bet big.
All right.
Should we send it back to you? Because it's, yeah,
No, so let's finish off, but even with it, so when we check
okay.
and he bets big, he bets his 75% type hand. Bet a little bigger than that, but that's fine. It's close.
And we call.
As we look there, the closest thing that we have to this is Jack 9.
Okay.
8-9, an 8-9, and 8-9 is 8-9 is not enough.
Yeah, the 10 is
Because it's
an
belly
important
hole,
card to
yeah.
have. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just the closest thing to a 10 we have is Jack 10. So we can call it we can call it Jack 10 instead of 8-10. That's the only way to get here. So we have Jack 10.
Yeah.
There's-
Notice the 9-8. It's going crazy.
Yeah. But it just doesn't call. But Jack 10 does. So we call.
Okay.
And the suit of, and let's roll over, take a look at the Jack 10 with the Jack 10 of diamonds.
Okay,
Oh.
hold on 1 second. Let's put
Yeah.
this in. On cutoff on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Our Jack 10 of diamonds. Just looking at what it is. Yeah. So they all call the Jack 10 of diamonds calls pure and the not, if you don't have the flush to go with it, you call half the time. Okay. The
Half
9.
time Broadway. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So the 9 comes, and so what do we do?
What do we do with that Jack
We
10?
do have some BSTIs
Yeah.
sizing. We have some tiny
Yeah.
sizing.
But mostly you check it and hope he bets.
Our straights. Mostly checking. And you hope he bets. Yeah.
I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this for a couple of weeks and not because I'm so often when I get there on the river, I look at the board and I go, well, it's obvious what my draws are. They're here. Of course he's gonna check behind.
Yeah, I think that, Jack made a good point, especially on straights, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can miss straights, including me. I have a bit of a blind spot when it comes to straights. Sadly,
I play
but
straight
Martin
different
does
than I
too,
play
talks
river
about it in
because
one of his sessions.
m-
But, yeah. Yeah, try it with straights.
yeah,
Mm.
try especially like the 2-hole straights,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because the 2-hole straights, my my players never see them, right?
Right.
So if you had a 2-hole straight here, then you just like check, they bet, you put them all in, they call. They said,
Right. And then they
"Bam."
notice it's straight. Yep.
Right?
I am happy though that I'm happy that I went, that I missed the donking the turn doesn't surprise me. I find that difficult to see, but if I have to make a mistake, I'm glad I made it a pop size mistake. All right,
Yeah.
Mike.
Hey. Okay. Okay, dokie. Okay, hero.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. Okay, so we got you to there. Raise it up and see what happens. Okay, we get to see a flop. Ooh, blind versus blind. Absolutely love playing blind versus blind out of position.
Yep.
All right, two overs, 10, 3, 4. We're gonna check a lot. This flop, I bet it's just kind of 50-50, and I bet the size we use is probably like B50, like often. Like I bet there's less B33ing here than normal.
Okay. Okay.
I like the bet.
All
I
right,
like
let's
the
see
bet
this one.
because you're basically saying chicken with him because that probably didn't hit you, but that probably didn't hit him. So
Okay, this likes the raise of 4 in the small blind instead of 3. He calls, and the flop is 10 of diamonds, 4 hearts, 3 spades. And our global size is, so we don't, they have a smaller and a bigger one. And yeah, you're doing the bigger one more often. Okay. And your king jack is happy to do everything.
Yep. And as you were doing it, I plugged it into Wiz
Yep.
yeah, similar. They actually have Wiz actually includes some over bets
Okay.
in there, like kind of an equal sort of spreading of
Yeah.
over bet B75 and B50 and B33ing.
Okay.
All right. So what do they do?
They
Hey,
raise, and
okay. Kind of a small-ish raise. Um, do we just let it go now? I wonder if we should continue with the two overs and one backdoor straight draw, potentially to the nuts. I guess probably versus population, I probably just fold, but I bet we can defend it,
yeah.
like in theory.
Yeah.
I like just folding to population.
Not a bad idea. Okay. So here I bet he raises to the only raise size. So he raises small. This is
Yeah,
raise.
which is the raise size in there is
Yeah.
bigger than,
Yeah.
let's
And
see
at
what
that raise size,
Wiz has an appropriate raise size,
yeah.
and
Great. We'll look at the whiz. Yeah. And the king
it's
jack, to this raise size, the king jack folds 100% of the time.
folds pure, and then in the Wiz it's folding 80 to 90% of the time on every combo.
Gotcha. But it has a call.
There is, yeah, slivers of calling. If you have the jack of clubs or the king of clubs, it will call a little bit more often, up to 25% of the time.
Right.
Please
Okay.
explain that to me.
Well, it's the offsuit. So notice there's a heart, diamond, and spade on the board, right? So the club is um the suit where you don't have any back doors.
Yep.
So when you hold a club, you are blocking. What are you blocking? You're blocking their
So here's how to put, do you want me to, are you thinking of how to say it, Mike, or you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to say why the club,
I
we're
th-
blocking something or we're unblocking
I
something.
can say what it is, which is he continues on a bunch of made hands, like just lots of made hands that are a pair, and he also bets some of his flush draws. Therefore, he has to have two hearts, two diamonds, or two spades, right? When I have a heart, a diamond, when I have a heart and a diamond, that means he doesn't have those. So some of his continues, so his bluffs are missing, which means that he has a higher percentage of his value than he should. That's what having a club unblocks. And if
Okay.
you're suited in clubs, you fully unblock that.
So if I have two clubs, 25% of the time I can continue, but
If you have two clubs, then more of his backdoor flush bluffs are available to him.
yeah.
And so his range is weaker than if you have um
So he's
than if
going to
you
be
have one of
more
each
rich
in value, in
flush
pairs.
cards.
Yeah, he's gonna be more rich in his paired cards than he normally would be. Not by much, but
Right.
that
So if you had king jack of clubs here, if you had two clubs in your hand, Scotty,
I can
then
call
when
it.
he check raises you, he's check raising you with more value than bluffs.
He's raising me with more value than bluffs. Yes, not
Yes,
check raising, but yes.
because you are blocking his like no equity type hands.
Hmm. Right. I'm blocking his no equity hands, or I'm unblocking all of the hearts, diamonds, and spades that he might do it with.
No, that okay. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this because
Okay.
if he has, if he, if you have the clubs, that means he's less likely to have clubs.
No, if I have the clubs, it's not it's so picture this. We'll do an oversimplified thing. He has If he has ace 10, that's a hand that he's not going to fold, right? That's the hand that's going to beat me forever. Ace 10.
Right.
And but he's also going to do it when he has when he has a king queen of diamonds, right?
Right.
And those are the only two hands he's allowed to have in the world. Ace 10 and king queen of diamonds. Those are the only hands that exist in our toy game. When I have the king of diamonds, he can't have king queen of diamonds. Therefore, he has to have ace 10. Now the game gets more complicated because there are not only two hands, but that's the theory that pushes it. And so in this case, though, when you look at you would say, oh, so you call with king jack of clubs more than you call with king jack of diamonds? No, because when I have king jack of diamonds, hearts or spades, I have a backdoor and I can play on. So it only happens in the offsuit branch, not in the suited branch. And that's as far as we're going to go on the why it's 3% more or 5% more of one of them. So this is the one I'm allowed to do, and I do, and then this happens. This is good. We like that.
Okay, you're not going to donk, so check. And
And
he
check for
checked
honor.
behind. Okay.
Yep. And let's see what the river brings.
Okay, it brings in 5, 6. Could be some two pairs, whatever. So it goes check, check.
I have the best hand in here most of the time.
Yeah, so let's think about we could potentially check call. We could potentially, I don't think we want to be check raising. Now, we can lead here, and if we lead, it's what size? And I think they're gonna still have a lot of air, which is why I think even check calling might even be okay here. If we lead, it's probably just like a B60. I think we can go bigger than like a block
Mm-hmm.
with our hand. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Then I think we just fold to that.
Yeah, we really should, shouldn't we? And obviously he bluffed, or else would we be showing it if he didn't bluff? Yeah. If we check call, he's not jamming there. But he's not betting. If we don't bet, he can check behind. If we don't bet,
Yeah, he could.
yeah. Which I guess in this particular case is better because he got us to fold. And we're folding this, right? That we weren't gonna call.
Not me. Let's see. I'll just continue on here with
Yeah,
the
continue on.
thing.
Let's see it.
You did call low frequency call there with that jack, and it was the here, I'll share.
Yeah.
You see it?
I will in a second. There it is. I see your poker tracker database. I don't see your
Okay.
window.
Screen. Let's put up this screen. This one I think you want.
Yes.
Okay, and it was the jack of,
It was the jack of, I will give you the answer, jack of hearts.
and it went check, check, right? So you don't lead, right? We don't lead. His 4-6 of something.
4-6
Actually,
of spade, 4-6 of clubs is what he
actually
actually.
likes to bet there, but they check. And we get the
We get the 7 of clubs.
7 of clubs. And let's see, do we get to lead with our king jack? Yeah, we get to lead some here. Let's put those up.
And what size does it like for this?
It likes big.
It likes 150%.
V75s or B150s. Your hand was the jack of clubs.
King of diamonds, jack of clubs.
So small, medium, and large.
Right. So the yellow is, so bet small to induce, bet 85% for value, and bet 150% for lots of value.
I was surprised you get to go this big with the,
Right.
I mean, I guess you're gonna get value from a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I chose purple. I bet I did purple is 17 and I bet in reality I bet 14.25, so a little smaller than that, but in that range.
so he's supposed to just he doesn't have the 6-4 of clubs, but if he has a 4x, his 4x just calls all the way through everything, basically.
Well, the king 4 and queen 4 fold. Oh, right. I'm saying they don't raise, but yeah, but he does the raise, and his raise was he jammed it, right? Yeah, he jammed for 75 more.
Your combo folds, and there's some hero calling with some other combos.
Right. Probably because of how often you have them. So make this do this by yeah, normalized is fine, or even yeah. The ones that the jack of clubs folds, the king of clubs does the calling. Okay. So strange, surprising in the bluff world. All right. Let me go back. Zoom. Okay. Here we go. And up next is Mike Skate. You're up. Oh, I'm not going to let you see that. Yeah, we're going to be forced to play this hand, Skate.
Okay.
Just gonna, we're going to do, we're going to play the hand and then look at it. So you have Jack 9 to a raise, button raises. Oh, no, this is easy. We're just going to look at this one. We're going to see what they did and why and the comedy thereof. All right. Ace 9, King Jack's perfectly fine 3-bet here. Yeah.
Yeah, so far so good in theory world.
Yeah. Yeah. Ace 9 calls. And this is what you get, Skate.
Okay. And so we're just gonna play as both villains.
Yeah, just say what you think they should do.
Okay, three better aggressor should continue. The king in particular is good for their range. Now they have a pair, which is great. So,
Yep.
yeah, checking hands that I am gonna check would probably maybe be ace king with a heart in it, king queen with maybe king queen with the heart in it, but
Yeah.
definitely ace king. But this one without a heart, I'm definitely betting as well.
Okay, so he bets.
Uh-huh.
This should be an easy fold, right?
Here, yeah, should fold.
Yeah, he should, yeah, that should be an easy fold.
They call, okay. Okay. Maybe they're trying to get an ace or something. Okay. Oh, we got two pairs. So yeah, let's keep on betting.
Hmm.
Draws are coming in now with that jack. So I imagine he's gonna go. He might go on the bigger side.
Yeah. What would you like to do in this situation? What size would you like to go?
Me, I'll go somewhere around 20.
I like it. He goes 24. That seems fine. This
Yeah.
hand should be over, right? The hand should just be over.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right.
All right. Maybe he's still trying to get the ace. Okay.
Hmm.
So now we're gonna see a bet and a fold.
Hmm.
I imagine he's gonna go since he went 24 in the turn, like a little bit bigger than I would have. Maybe here he's gonna go like he's blocking, blocking the king there, so and the jack. So I imagine he's gonna go probably a little bit smaller, trying to get value if he's playing correctly out of kind of random pair. Maybe he's gonna go like 40 or 50. I assume.
Would you ever consider here block betting small to induce with the intent of with hoping to get raised? Would you consider betting, 15 or 20 or 25?
Here, no, since again, I block both value
Mhm.
cards.
Right.
I would say, I would say as played, no.
Okay, here's another possibility. Since you have no heart in your hand, check to try to get hearts to bluff. So there's betting and trying to get called by a worse king, and by worse king I mean ace king or king queen because they're worse now. So you bet big because they have to call you. You bet small to induce, or you check full on to induce. He goes for the full on check to induce. And you got to think it's going to work, that this is what the guy was waiting for, right?
I mean, I like your point, but
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, of course, two sides for value. If they have a king, they're gonna bet, and then we're gonna raise. If I was the king jack guy, or if they're aggro on the aggro side, then then we can possibly check, and they may be able to do some kind of bluff. But
Mm.
since I don't know the player, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he got it.
All right,
He
I
got-
want to see these HUD stats on villain 15.
You got it.
My suspicion is they're going to be pretty bad. Like they're going to be very, very
Nice.
loose, very high VPIP, not as high as I was expecting.
Nope, but a 3-bet of 10.
How many 4-bets is that?
2 out of 7 opportunities.
Yeah, I was expecting to see some
Some crazy.
much different ratio there.
Yeah, yeah. And really, really interesting that he decided to float the turn at this sizing. That's a lot of hope. But this is what he was waiting for. You know. So kudos to King Jack. For, knowing his
The player with King Jack has shown to be very aggressive. He has an aggression factor of 12 with
Yeah.
a pretty good stat line of 26, 20, 13 3-bet. So
Mhm.
he's been very solid, good, aggressive. And I wonder if villain 15 is just trying to take advantage of somebody who he thinks is too aggressive.
Right.
It's the only thing I can think of.
Yep.
Yeah, so like this is like some kind of like just desperation play, or more like on what you were saying that villain 15 thinks that villain 10 is kind of like aggressive, and then like by the river may have not had anything, or do you think it's like that as played they're calling the flop and turn for some reason? I mean, I'm guessing to hit an ace, and since they didn't hit the ace, they're like, okay, I have to win this pot somehow,
Yeah. Although so
right?
I think everything you've said is right, but that one emotional thing that you used where you said desperation, and it's like, I don't feel desperation because you didn't. Desperation is if you were the one betting that you got forced to be here. He chose to be here. He was waiting for this to happen. This is what he was hoping for was a check. I mean, he'd like to get an ace, but even he can't feel that good about his ace.
Okay,
Here.
so maybe
He was hoping for a check and to make this move. And it's like, wow.
you think
Gave it to him.
okay, so yeah, better question would be maybe this kind of player, you think they were thinking about that all throughout the hand? Okay, if my opponent checks river, I'm going to bluff.
Either that or he's not thinking at all. I don't see anything in between the two.
Right.
I mean, if he had ace 10 here, I could see the difference. Right? Or, certainly queen 10, but the fact that he has no draw on this turn and calls the big bet. Yeah, I think that's what he's either thinking nothing or that's what he's thinking. I bet the least bit of weakness I find.
So I guess my question is, how do I add this stuff into my game? Because right now, I don't ever count on my opponent's betting for me. Like I
So
would, like,
so here's the answer, Derek, is watch for what they're doing in the hands you're not in. And if all the rivers are going check, check, all the time when anything scary happens, they just go check, check. And all that happens is that the best hand wins. Then don't even think like villain 10. Don't try for it because you're not getting it.
yeah.
And you don't have to start checking the river to see what happens, to give up. You can keep your same strategy and just pay more attention to the hands you're not in and find, is there anybody and you don't care whether what gets shown down. You just go, are there people who are betting when they get checked to on the river like this?
Because what my brain thinks all the time is on the turn when the jack comes, I bet around 30 because that way I can get it all in
Yeah.
on the river.
Yep.
Right. So I just think when I see the jack come, my brain thinks, oh, take what's in the pot, subtract it from what they have in
Yeah.
their thing, and then divide by 3, and that's how much I'm gonna bet.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the
Let's go.
time.
Let's go 2E. Let's go 2E. Yeah. And so you've just got this other thing to look at, which is, am I playing against somebody who I have seen attack weakness?
Yeah.
And if you are, then consider this, but only in that case.
Yeah.
Richie, you're up.
Hello. Where are we? Oh, I was going to say. Okay. I've been away, so I'm not fully sure what we're training here. We're playing blind rather than face up, is it?
We're playing hands. These are all hands that I found interesting in the past week or two.
Cool. Okay.
For you guys.
So
If I'm in them we're playing as me, and if I'm not in them, then we're playing them all face up, but then we'll look at the hands.
Fair enough. So blind if it's you, but face up if it's randomized. Cool. That makes sense. Okay, as you, ace 10 suited in this position, yeah, you can 3-bet this. Which
Right.
you do, obviously, I'm assuming it being a hand. They call. Okay. What's their stats? I was just having a look first of all. They're quite reasonable stats, fair enough. So in this situation, do they check to you? I guess they do.
We do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is quite a, what's it called? Actually, this is, yeah, I think this is a safe enough board for you to continue on, because obviously you would have the overpairs as well as a jack here. So yeah, I would continue here, and I'll probably go, I was going to say half instinctively. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm happy with the size. It's not too small, but I was going to say half. Yeah, that's 5.2 is reasonable. About a third, isn't it? Just under a third. They call, which is fair enough, and obviously you keep in their weaker ranges with a smaller bet, even if you had a stronger hand than you do. I guess they checked you again, or do they now lead? Okay,
They check.
they check. So really, your range could still have be winning here, but obviously now what could you don't. No, actually, they could still have the nut advantage, right? Because they could have the lower pairs here, that a 3 of a kind, etc., etc., or potentially 2 pair. But I still think this is okay to continue on, because you could have the over pairs, you could have a jack 3 of a kind, even 8, you could argue. So yeah, I would potentially still continue this, depending on the villain. I think even in a GTO perspective, this could be a continue. What size did you do? You went small on the things. You got 3/4 here if you want to continue the bluff.
Yeah. So in my picture of balance strategy, not the best strategy, just want to start with the way I think solvers think,
Yeah.
which is that I have enough hands that I will have bet here that can pick up equity. And
Yeah.
those ones I get to continue with, and this isn't one of them. So now
Okay.
I have to give up. That's what I think there. And that doesn't mean I should give up in real life. But
So in position, I probably continue more than I should. Maybe that's a weakness on me. Out of position, I would probably give up here, which again might be also weak. It's just because obviously in my head they could be trapping you more, and I think yeah, it's not a situation I want to dig myself too deep out of position here. But in position, I would probably continue this more. But I get you. And now obviously it's the board's become more connected, straights, etc. Have completed for certain hands. You technically gave up on the turn, so this card, even though you got a 10 blocker, from a check back on the turn to then continue in here, you've really narrowed your range to 1/2 pair max, right?
yeah,
So you could go for a final, I guess, stab bluff here, but I would, depending on how strong your villain is, they might not believe you, understandably, definitely depending on their sizing, because you could go big because they're capped and try and fold them off it. But yeah, you could also understandably get called here, right? So just checking back and giving up the pot, I don't think's unreasonable. But if you're trying to bluff them off it, in theory, because they're capped as well, just checking and calling, calling small on the thing and then checking.
Can I say
Two more.
one thing?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on.
I don't think he's kept here.
Well, I'm curious, why not? Because if we had 3 of a kind, we wouldn't often stop.
Well, he was out of position and he was just calling off, and when you check the turn, he can still be trapping.
Oh, I
in
thought you meant the
position.
hero wasn't capped. You mean
No.
the villain was not capped?
Yeah, the villain.
right.
Yeah.
Now, one question, is the villain capped though after that river when he doesn't bet the river?
I would say, yeah, right? Because he's checked twice. You could argue he wouldn't be capped if he led out on the river, but because he's
He's not
recapped.
capped if he leads out. But then again, he might be capped. I mean, he might not be capped even there. He might still just have no
Be-
donks based on his
Ooh.
strategy. I block the nuts, and if I bet, I need to get him to fold. I don't think I can bet him off a jack almost ever. But I could get an 8 to fold. So I got to bet big enough for an 8 to fold, or it's not worth betting.
But what eights does he have?
He could
Eight,
have,
seven.
he
Eight,
could have
seven,
8,
six,
7.
seven, right?
Yeah, it'd be
I mean,
8-7 under
eight,
weak.
seven, or
Yeah.
Yeah. And he could have 8, 9, which is going to be very, very, very hard to get him to fold. So with that in mind, maybe don't even try.
So he could also have, I guess, 8 diamonds with ace, 8 of diamonds. And 8 ace of hearts.
Yeah.
So yeah, you went for the bigger, obviously targeting bluffed their capped range and getting them to fold, and then they've either got something and slow played it, or they've gone, well, if you had anything, would you have checked back the turn? Wow, nice.
And
Yeah.
here's
Which
pocket
is,
four.
yeah.
It's being bluffed by pocket fours day. And this time he had the best hand. The last time he didn't have the best hand with the pocket fours.
Fair.
yeah,
But
or-
Yeah.
I don't hate his overbluff onto you, right? Because by you checking back the turn, you've capped yourself as well. So he's, I think, reasonably gone. Yeah, you have the 10 blocker, which he doesn't know that, but he's reasonably gone. Well, you've capped yourself, so me going over the top, you're likely not going to have the top of your range. You may have something, but it's not going to be the top of your range. And I'm going to make it uncomfortable for you to call me because you don't know if I've got something or not, right? So I don't hate theirs. I think I think their play is reasonable.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yep.
are you
And-
filtered for like crazy check raises on the river?
I
bluffs?
am filtered for hands that I thought that I found difficult or interesting.
Just marked, huh? But not filtered for
Not-
crazy
not
check raise
filtered for-
bluffs.
No, the crazy check raise bluffs is the filter in my head. Whenever I see one of these, I go, I gotta show the guys.
Yeah, I think I don't mind your stab as well. Your stab bluff, your river stab bluff, or however you would define it. I think it's
Yeah.
reasonable, right? Because I thought they were capped as well, but I also don't hate them also challenging
Yeah.
your potential bluff or even value, depending how you look at it, with their polarized overshove.
Right. So do you think that one of the things that I induced this with, like if I bet 5 chips here, I might have induced him to do this. If I bet half pot, 2/3 pot, something where I'm representing something in the, I had a jack, but I didn't know if it was the best jack. Now I believe it's the best jack, or I hit the 9 there, that I just have so little in my range that deserves this bet that I'm pushing myself towards bluffs. That almost
Yeah,
that I bet large to induce if he's really a thinking player. Did that happen? Did he conclude that I have no queen 10 here because
Yeah.
I would have continued with queen 10 on the turn?
No, I don't think you are specifically going to continue with queen 10 on the turn.
Okay.
But I think in general you have very little queen 10 suited here.
Yeah.
And he as well. And you're basically just wrapping this hand, I think.
Yeah.
The
And if
river.
go on.
Yeah, on the river I think you're basically wrapping queen 10.
Right. Because
even
pocket jacks
even
are
with
not
ace.
believable.
Yeah,
Because pocket
jacks are not believable because you would have continued the turn, right? You could potentially have
queens are
some
not.
form of king jack. Yeah, queens are unbelievable as well because again, you would have probably continued turn.
Yeah.
You could have some form of weak jack, maybe queen jack suited,
Right.
king jack. You could even argue, I would disagree, but maybe you have ace jack in your range as well. And if you did have ace jack here, you still wouldn't be comfortable calling this because they could have the straights here, right? So, or 2 pairs, 3 of a kind, etc. So I think you cap, like, and again, I don't disagree with it. You capped your range on the turn and they've seen that and gone with you're probably small value here or bluffing, and they've challenged it with their
Yeah.
polarized what it is, basically a bluff with very little value, or they could actually have the nuts here, right?
And then there's another important thing about their check raise bluff here, why it's so good, which is you can't, if they had 4-5 of clubs or 4-5 of diamonds here, if that's how they got here, or yeah, 4-5 is the one. No, because he calls the flop. 7-9. No, but then yeah, they have 7-9, okay? Where they have some showdown. If I'm putting it with, if they have nothing here, they can't check, they have to bluff the river, right? Because if it goes check, check, they lose. But if they have something here like fours, they could beat ace king. They can still go check, check and win. But once I bet, he decides I need to bluff to win. So to do the check raise bluff on the river, you have to actually have a hand that has showdown value. Because you
I
bluffed
think
away hands that
I-
don't.
I'm kind of like, I think his raise is a little, I don't know,
I
maniacal. I think he can call and beat you a lot. Not a lot, but enough where raising is risking a massive amount,
Right.
whereas calling beats your ace kings, ace queens, king queens. I don't know about the raise. I think calling is maybe an option he could consider.
no, I think shoving is better because you can still be bluffing with a better hand, and
Yeah, you
just
could be bluffing
and
definitely
you
with a
can
better hand.
also
I have
fold.
if I bet there with pocket fives, I'm bluffing.
Yeah,
Also, you can fold a lot of like strong hands here.
I think if Hero's bet was smaller, it's better to call, but because Hero's bet was slightly bigger, it's in the it's kind of like the polarized mid-value, low value / bluff range where I do think the shove makes more sense and put yourself polarized and then
Yeah.
put the onus on the hero of like with obviously you have the worst hand there to bluff catch. I think you wouldn't be calling with bluff there unless the hand you mentioned you would be beating would be someone I can't remember exactly 4-5. You would be beating, but any small pair such as fours you lose to.
It's
other
hard for me to
pairs.
get there with 4-5
Yeah.
to get to
So
flop bet. Yeah.
yeah, mathematically, I don't know what makes the most sense. It is
Yeah.
what you're saying. If it is a bit, what's it called, spewy, but I also think it's a reasonable, right? Like without actually going into the maths of it, I don't think this is a spewy. I think this is someone potentially reading the situation, and you both deviated from GTO, and you've both, I guess, tried to play each other, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing I don't know if he was thinking this, but boy, if he was, I like it. Which is, so I bet here, I have my full range here when I bet. This makes sense. Okay. When this goes check, check. I have aces very rarely, kings very rarely, queens very rarely, and jacks very rarely. Right? So when I then
Agreed.
decide that I want to do this, other than my bluffs, which of my value wants to go this size? And I can think of one hand that does, that I could 3-bet, but I don't 3-bet it all the time, which is pocket nines.
Yeah.
This could easily, pocket nines fits this story. This makes sense for pocket nines. Okay.
And queen 10.
And queen 10, but you know, you often continue betting your queen 10 on the turn when you bet small on the flop. I mean, I bet small on the flop, so I have some queen 10, but I bet some of it away. But other than that, there's not a lot of, I have very little in my range that this is the right size for. And maybe I made that mistake in sizing that I gave a size that if he's thinking is over bluffed.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. and I certainly didn't see it at the time, but maybe, or he's a spewhead. But also, look at his stats. He's not a spewhead.
No, I know, that's what I was thinking, which makes this more lined up that it was a
might-
calculated bluff and
He might have
I-
played this really, really well.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think he read the board and the situation well and
Yeah. I
So
don't
if-
like,
made a
in-
great bluff.
in
Yeah.
hindsight, what size do you think would be better? 75? 50?
Yeah,
50,
I-
56, 50, 66.
So somewhere between 50 and 75, basically.
Yeah, yeah, right there. That more of my value wants to do.
I've heard it somewhere before, and I don't know if it's true or not, or if there's statistics behind it, but I've heard someone state, like a trainer, that pot size bets are usually the most bluff bets, but I don't have any link to it. I don't have any stats to it. I'm just wondering if anyone else has heard that. I don't rely on it on his information, but
I have
I-
observed from my heads up thing in my player pool that the 75% is a highly bluffed number.
okay.
That it is I want to bluff enough to get you to fold, but I don't need to, but no more than that. I don't need to go pot size. And and then we have actual data that the 2x pot is under bluffed from how much it earns. You know, the 2x, when you bet 2x pot, you're allowed to bluff a lot more than when you bet pot, right?
Okay.
And people do the opposite. So 2x pot is overvalued by far.
I've heard the same that pot size bet is overbluffed, but I think most fish are mostly betting value when they pot it.
Yeah.
And there is some specific players that are only bluffing. Like it's player dependent, but mostly when a fish bets pot, I think it's a value.
All right, I give you pocket tens, Tura.
Open.
All right, let's see. There's gonna be a limp before me.
ISO to 4.5.
ISO to 4.5. I
Could
like
go
it.
bigger because he's
Okay.
you're deeper.
Yep.
3-bet,
We bet the ISO. Oh, that's bad.
mostly calling.
Yep. There we go. And he folds. Yeah.
Check.
Yep. If you can't hit a 10, this is what you want.
1/3. I would be mostly calling.
Yep.
Check.
That's good.
Okay.
That's bad.
Yeah. Now you can fold.
Oh. Oh, this one's tough, isn't it? This is very polarizing.
What a miserable, yeah. What a miserable day.
Oh, this is really interesting. I think I would fold this as well, but it's literally they could have it or they couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah, they have it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think that there were none of this guy, and this guy had jacks.
Oh,
The
nice.
only way to win this hand, and I don't know that we should, is the check raise there,
Yep.
and I don't think we should do it.
Probably you can do it some frequency. But
Yeah.
So this is where I was going to ask, right? Because their range, not for nut advantage, but over pairs is better than yours, right?
Yeah.
But what characteristics for a board do we need to potentially lead this or even lead the turn? Because it crossed my mind that the 9 is probably better for you than it is for the ace king. So could you lead that board to find out where you are to avoid the river situation? Here now, I thought, ooh.
Right.
But do we have to lead this with? Oh no, actually, no. Yeah, do we have to lead this with the 10 of spades because we've got technically backdoor blockers? Or like, is there any situation here where we lead because we could argue then that we have the
But
nuts?
these ranges make total sense in a single raised pot. Let's,
Hmm.
all right, let's take a look at this. We are 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So I'll
I
throw,
I I don't think you get to lead this.
yeah, it never occurred to me to lead. You know, because
No, yeah.
I just didn't want there to be an ace on the river. Okay, so I raise and he re-raises from the hijack. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry, he re-raises. Yes, he re-raises from the hijack. So he goes to 10. We go along here, and I do not, and I can fold 10s sometimes. From this early a position, you can fold 10s. But I don't. Flop is 3-3 deuce. 3 of spades, 3 of diamonds, deuce of, I'm just in case, just in case this is coming, deuce of clubs. There we go. So we check range, that makes total sense. He bets his ace king, sure. He bets it, the size that he actually bet was. All right, oh, the pot's super big because of this, but that's fine. So let's just do it by percentage. He does a third. So he just bets the smaller size. Against the smaller size, you mostly call your 10s. Okay. That makes total sense. Then the 9 of spades comes. And do you turn around and start betting? Not in peak, you don't. Peak hates betting.
It makes
Exactly.
sense. I was just wondering if it was a possibility. Does anyone know, I guess, the characteristics? I'm losing my words here. Of the board that would allow us to lead in this situation? I'm assuming there's not much in a 3-bet pot because
No,
they have.
and especially not on that particular type of flop there. There's not going to be too many equity shifting type cards. Maybe you could argue something like a 5 or a 4, but yeah, I don't think you're going to get in a 3-bet pot like this an equity shifting card there.
Yeah.
So if it comes more straight, do we have straight, like connected, sorry, does that shift our equity towards us that we could potentially consider leading?
Yeah, if the
Like a-
board was more like 8, 9, 10 or something like that,
Yeah.
or since we have a 10, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the coordination of the board definitely would matter. And in a 3-bet pot, those were early positions, right? The 3-bet came from like hijack or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would probably more likely be like those middling type boards where you could potentially get a pretty equity shifting card on the turn.
Okay.
And then there would be some donks in the strategy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And this is one where, you know, you wouldn't want to knock out your opponent to not let him draw to it. You would want to make him pay. But as it turns out, he didn't pay anything here. You know, good for him. And he, you know, if he didn't get there, maybe he doesn't bluff. So he played more better than me. All right, I'm not going to be in this hand, right?
You could argue they made a mistake on the river, right? Because yes, they went very polarized. And I remember you lot saying that, you know, sometimes you want to go for it all because when they do call you, it pays for the times
Yeah.
that don't. But if that person was targeting your lower paired range, then maybe they should have gone smaller to get you to call. But again, mathematically, I get, as you guys have mentioned previously, it makes more sense to do the bigger all in for the times you do get called that pay for the times you don't.
Yep.
Do you all agree with that?
Yes, it's exactly those thoughts. And so you sort of look at the characteristics of which hands can I get here with?
Okay.
I get here with lesser aces. And if I can, then you want to jam.
Because what are you capped to by only calling their 3-bet? Jacks? Some jacks would have maybe 4-bet. like queens would have four bet, kings would have four bet. So your jacks lower, so jacks, tens,
Here we go.
nines.
I think jacks and tens are gonna have some folds. Can you click on the pre-flop node of,
Yeah, this is raise, it's to here. This is the node we want right there.
Oh, so even queens call
Yeah.
because it's early v early. Okay,
I
Yeah.
think
mid.
because it's 3-bet against the ISO that you can also
Have
be
the queens.
continue a bit tighter. Like
Okay.
I mean this range seems reasonable,
Yeah.
but
No, that does make sense. I forgot about the ISO. So yeah, that shove, you're potentially getting called by people who are bluff catching with queens. And then you could argue maybe even jacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it does make sense,
Yeah.
the shove.
the thing
Yeah.
is with jacks
And it's all these hands.
queens, you're basically blocking his bluffs. So
Yeah, not a lot of ace, but still, and some ace. And you and I know in real life, these aces are represented also in my range. People don't fold these aces as much.
Interesting hands. These are interesting hands.
Yeah.
do you, hey, Scotty?
Yeah.
Can I share a screen? And I tried to plug in something to kind of illustrate to Richie, on those dockable turns on a 3-bet pot. So this was a similar under the gun +2 raise, a hijack 3-bet.
Yep.
And this is the range that Wizard uses. These are smaller. Obviously, it's not an ISO, so it's going to be, kind of different, but
Yeah.
this is where that threshold is.
Yeah.
But we call. And then so that I put in this board, I was kind of curious. I figured it would be something similar here. Notice already, even on this board, there's like just donking right out on the flop.
Yeah.
But we checked and they bet a third, and then our response is calling with all of that stuff in there and all of this stuff down here. And then we get like this 8. So there's a 4-liner. And see how much donking we do when that turn comes. Because it's I think Larry's really good at showing this equity shift that goes to under the gun who called. So the equity here shifted in our favor, in under the gun's favor. And that
I just
equity
realized
shift
it's
is what
muted.
allows
Yeah,
you
no.
to donk.
Yeah, makes sense. No, that's good. That's good. I was just curious what the characters were, and this is a good example. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, can I ask a question here?
Yep.
I was considering, like, let's say it's a mistake to play deuce from under the gun. If I'm playing with a bunch of bad players, can I just limp in with it? Like, I don't
So
think I've limped
how
in
do these
this
guys
year.
respond to limps? When you limp, does everybody limp behind very often and they don't squeeze, or when they squeeze to only 3 big blinds?
They've never heard. A lot of people have never heard of squeezing, right?
Right. But I mean, when they raise, so a lot of times limps go all the way through, right?
Right.
Okay. And in addition to that, limps go all the way through. And when people raise, what size do they raise to over the limpers?
Oh, something like 25 in a 1-3 game.
Okay. In that case, it's how often the limps get through. If the limps are getting through a lot, you can limp.
Aren't you with the smaller pairs though so early position, like on a full ring table at least, opening yourself to what's the terminology?
set.
Skipping my hand.
Set over
Yeah,
set.
set over set. I can't think what the other terminology, but yeah.
You-
Because you could hit a set, right? Because two's the lowest card, but any other card above you could also be a set, and you're not always going to be comfortable.
Broke in that case.
Okay,
When I
fair.
get set over set it, I high five the guy and cheer.
And go broke. Yeah.
Does that sound like a good strategy?
I think personally,
Okay,
if you're
when I get
comfortable
set
with
over
it,
setted,
makes
I
sense.
want to lose all my money.
So
Yeah.
I would agree with that with slightly higher cards, but you're just opening yourself more frequently for it to happen on lower cards, right?
Oh, sure, sure. I acknowledge that's it's a lot more
Yeah.
likely that you're going to get set over setted, but I'm
Yeah.
certainly fine with that getting set over
Yeah,
setted.
I think for it to be at all viable, and one, they have to not know what your limping range is, because you do not have a balanced protected limping range,
Yeah,
because you don't
let's say
want one.
I'm just limping with deuces to fives
Yeah,
or something
right, so you're doing
like
that,
right? Stuff
right,
that is minus EV to
right. Yeah, and they don't know it, so they don't know it, and so it's the two things, they have to not adjust, and I think you have to get to the flop for 3 big blinds at most.
yeah,
Uh,
and then like
Seventy
especially
five
if
percent of the time.
everyone limps their aces.
Yeah,
You know what I
75%
mean?
of the time or more, you've got to get to the flop. If
Yep.
it's less than 75%, because most of the time, even on the flop, you're folding. So if you,
Yep.
if they're blowing you off it, if you have to fold it pre-flop more than 25% of the time, I think it's a bad idea. If you have to fold, if you have to fold it more than 20% of the time, I don't know. I haven't done the math on these thresholds, you know,
Mm.
but if it's like, uh, if you're getting, if you're getting to the flop 90% of the time, I think it's probably fine.
Okay.
And if
Yeah,
you're
I'm gonna
getting the
try.
flop
I'm gonna try it.
50% of the time, I'm confident it's bad.
Yep, I'd agree.
So there's a number in between there. All right. So this
I'm
guy,
considering just doing limping like deuce to sixes, even though I know it's a mistake. I think that because they give me
well,
this back when I flop a set, and
you can certainly play with it for a few weeks and get a sense. But
yeah,
even without doing that, you can just watch how often do limps get through on your game. They don't on mine. My game has a lot of limping in it, but the limps don't get through. They have to limp fold or they have to limp call. But I wouldn't, from the amount of times that limps get raised at my table, I would not be limping deuces, threes, fours, or fives and hoping to get flop with them.
okay.
All right. Let's see. So this guy opens his two. This is on me. Oh no. We'll give it to the new guy. iPhone 10. Here we go. If you want to unmute and do this hand, you can. And if you want to watch what we do, then you can do the next hand. All right, here we go. So deuces open. This is too early to open deuces, but there is a sliver of deuces that opens starting here. So,
Would you
if
would you consider opening with a smaller size than 3?
I
Yeah.
don't vary my size, but if you want to vary your size, you can vary your size based on position and open this position to only 2 big blinds and do it across your whole range.
Yeah.
Or you have to hope that they are not tracking that the size of your bet matters. They might not track it. All right. 10-9 calls. This is terrible. All right. King 10 folds. King 10 does not have to fold here. King 10 can 3-bet here against both players, and that's perfectly fine. And he can squeeze this, and he could call it. He doesn't have to fold. All
I
right.
think it's a blunder to fold that.
Yeah. Jack 5, the hero, needs to fold, and this Jack 5 suited also needs to fold, but I expect he won't. He doesn't. So we have 3 to the flop, and there's your reward for deuces. All right. So the deuces, oh, and this guy's got a 9 too. This is great. So the deuces can check here in the middle of the sandwich, or they can bet. Both are okay. He does the check. The 9 should bet. Sadly, the 9 should bet. And he does. And he bets big. He should bet small here. He should bet 3 most of the time. There's the fold. The deuces and against this size might not want to check raise yet. Against the smaller size, they should. And they, being deuces, they unblock all the nines, which is nice. So he just calls. Check, and then he does this weird thing. That's weird.
I don't like call donk the turn unless you're bluffing.
I don't like this at all. It's
I
like
don't
he
like
made,
it at all.
yeah, it's like his logic is like inconsistent. So he does that. The nines are gonna call, but they were gonna bet. There's the 10, there's your queen, and he checks this. And the 9-10 doesn't need to turn this into a bluff. He can just check behind. And he does. That seems like the way to win the least money with a set.
I was gonna say I don't think I hate the donk on the turn, but if you're gonna donk the turn, it makes sense to continue it on the river because you're polarized, right? You either have the bluff or you have something. To then
Yeah.
check it back on the river is giving them the option as they do to check back, which makes no
Yeah.
sense.
I
Yeah,
never played
so
it like this. This is
that was really poor, I thought.
Yeah.
this is just shoot yourself in the foot play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you either let them keep betting into you or you continue your bet on the river if you've donked the turn. I think this
Yeah.
is literally the worst way to play it.
That's what it seemed like. This seemed like the worst of all worlds.
Yeah.
All
Odd.
right. Yep, that's what we think. Okay. iPhone 10, if you want to do the next hand, unmute and talk. If you don't, that's fine. And let me see if you're in, let me see if iPhone 10 sent anything in the chat. Because I have not been looking at the chat this whole time.
Nah, hey, I'm just listening in, y'all. You know, like I said, if y'all know this is Corey, man, I be up and down in here. So
Hey, Corey.
yeah, I just listening, man, gleaning what I can, man. I'm really not in a position to do any
Okay.
type of
No
thing.
problem.
My man.
If you change your mind, just jump in at any time, turn on your mic and say, shut up, it's my turn. All
I'll
right.
do that.
All right, Derek, you're up. Derek
Okay.
Derek is going to get this hand. And see if let's see if I'm in this hand. Derek is going to get a hand with me in it.
Okay. I'm gonna hit this 2.5.
Damn right. Yep.
Well, we think alike.
And you get a call from the big blind.
Good. Okay, we got some sort of straight shit happening in backdoor flush.
Mm-hmm.
So we can bet a third.
All right, let's do that.
Oh, we think alike. Get a
We
call.
got called.
Okay, so this is bottom pair. So I don't think he's on bottom pair. But that didn't help our hand, and as you guys know, I have this thing about if the turn helps me, I usually bet, although the solver doesn't agree with me
Mm-hmm.
on that. But if I'm playing Derek way, I just check this.
All right, I'm going to play Derek way. And he,
Random overcard comes, he checks. We have some showdown value in our ace high. I'm fine with so he called our flop bet.
called a small flop bet.
So he called a 1/3 flop bet. So he could there's so many spades out there. I don't know. We might have bet the spade. I don't know. I'm just gonna check.
Okay.
No need to
So
bluff. We have
if we
showdown
believe we
value.
have showdown, if we believe we have showdown value against his calling range, then we can then we can check behind because we can beat other hands.
Yep.
Like he could be here with 9-10. He could be here with 7-9. Does he bluff all those? Not in our game, he doesn't.
Yep. So I'm just gonna check. Oh, he has
All right.
sevens. Okay, good
All right.
game.
Yep. So that's the question. The question is, does the ace-9 actually have showdown value at this situation, or do you bluff it? And I'm gonna look at this one. This is gonna be a fine one to look at.
I think everything else is bog standard.
Yeah. Yep. We're in the hijack. All right. hijack raises with the ace nine suited.
Yep.
The big blind calls with his pocket sevens, which is correct. The board is jack eight of clubs, six of spades.
So
Six of spades.
I would have bet the turn if I had any
Yeah.
equity jump up in my face, but
Yeah, exactly.
that's an
Exactly.
equity
We pick up a
losing turn,
spade.
so
We pick up a
I can't
spade,
liquidate.
pick up a seven, we pick up a 10, all those.
Yep.
Alright, so he checks, and here we are with our ace nine of spades, and this is a perfectly good bet. And the common size, I gotta move you guys out of the way, you're blocking. You're blocking the hand. It likes to bet two. And I bet something like two, right? On the flop. I bet 1.7, which is the same as two.
The same as two.
I bet two. And with his pocket sevens, I move you guys out of the way. He just calls. That makes sense.
Calls his whole range.
Right. And now, when the six comes in, it happens to be the six of diamonds. He still checks the sevens. And our ace nine,
We can bet.
I can bet, and it's perfectly fine to check it. So, in that thing of where we were confused about what do I do when I don't increase equity? In solver land, the thing you should do is be confused. Being confused is the right thing to do here because the solver mixes so heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So both are right. This time, we chose the check line. The river is the queen of spades. And now with his sevens, he checks. He has a lot of hands that he bets. He's going to bluff. He's going to bet a jack for value. He's going to bet a queen for value. He's going to bluff my ace nine there. He
Sometimes.
checks. And what do I do with ace nine? Go for it. It's not and my specific combo is the spades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what the ace nine of, so I need ace nine of spades. Yeah, ace nine of spades is the only one I think that does any checking. I got him, you guys are in the way. No, so hearts and diamonds. So here's your thing. You bet all the time when you make it when you make it more likely that I am on clubs or spades. So this is that thing we were talking about before, Derek. You can see an illustration of it now.
Mm-hmm.
On the river, my clubs check the most because when I have clubs, you don't have clubs. So you didn't get here by calling with clubs. Therefore, you have other things you called with. What are the things you call with when you don't have clubs? Pairs. And I have to now knock you off a pair. And it's not as fun to knock you off a pair as it is to knock you off clubs because clubs will fold if I breathe on it.
Mm-hmm.
So now does this suit thing here make sense? This is that heuristic we talked about earlier, and now you start to
like-
see the meaning of it.
Okay, so let me just see if walk
Yeah,
it
try
walk
to
it back.
repeat,
Okay.
repeat it back.
So if I have hearts, it's less likely that you have hearts. Right, which makes it more likely that you have clubs.
Yeah, it isn't that it's less likely to have hearts. It's that it is more likely that I have clubs than when I block the clubs.
Yeah.
So don't look at hearts in isolation. Look at hearts compared to clubs.
Okay, when I have non-clubs, you're more likely to have clubs.
Right.
And I can knock you off a flush draw that
Yep.
failed because you just
Exactly.
have like a bunch of clubs. Whereas if I have the nut club draw,
Yep.
means that you certainly don't have the nut club and you're more
Right.
likely to have non-clubs.
Right. And what kind of non-clubs called the flop?
Probably a pair
Pairs.
or a straight draw.
Yeah, some straight draws too.
Don't say draw so
But
much.
the 9 blocks the straight draws.
Yep.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here you see it.
Yeah.
And,
This is a good example for me.
yep. And you could simplify this and take all the 9 of clubs and stick it in 9 of spades and say, never bluff clubs, always bluff the others. And you would get the same frequencies and it would be sensible. So I had spades and most of the time spades goes for it.
Hmm.
And not that we are in GTO world, but if we are in GTO world, the size we like to go a lot is 7.9. Is 7.9 going to get sevens to fold in GTO world? Yes. Very often. So I didn't play the hand terribly because as we see in this node here, my ace jack in this node, my ace 9, sorry. My ace 9 of spades does check 23% of the time, but all these other choices would have been better in GTO world.
Yep.
All right.
Winning the hand would be good.
Yeah. That was Derek's. Larry, you are up. All right, let's see what we got. We have a hand that I'm going to be in.
So 10-8 gets to open.
You don't know that. This guy gets to open. You don't know his cards. You have to play me.
Alright. Alright, so against cutoff open. Primarily 3-bet this.
We primarily we 3-bet the offsuit branch, the offsuit one. I think we probably 3-bet the suited one a lot too. Let's see. This is cutoff versus big blind. Yep. Just almost exclusively. This is a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, this is so rare that you could just call it a mistake that I didn't do it. And in the range that I should know, cutoff raises, big blind. Yeah, this is to a 2.5 with a rake. The other one doesn't have a rake, and it's just, you know, a different solve. This is the one that I learned. So that's where that came from. He really went to 3. And so with a rake at 3. Yeah. So the way they computed it, it's mostly a call.
Okay.
So good enough. And it's certainly not wrong to 3-bet it. But there we are. What would you like to
Okay.
do?
Alright, so we get this flop, I would check. That's half. You don't have much going on here. I think we just fold.
Okay. I would consider check
I
raising
mean, we
here.
can do some kind of vicious check raises. I mean,
Yeah.
but generally I think we just don't have enough going on to check in.
Okay. So here are the things we have going on. We have backdoor flush and 2 good overs. The
And a flop
the
that
overs would be,
in theory is bad for cutoff and better
Yeah.
for us.
but boy, this is a bad board for him. What do? I call. So I don't even do anything strong.
Yeah, I think I think I prefer, like, so if you look at solver, oftentimes
Mhm.
the lowest equity hands facing a bet are check
Yeah.
raise fold. I kind of think these fall into that range.
Right.
So I don't really have many turn donks on a repeat card in my arsenal, but I imagine if there's one situation where you want to do it, it's here.
This would be really good.
Like I would construct a two-street bluff of
Yeah,
small bet and then big bet.
yeah,
And we have to be, I mean, now, okay, so now we've got a fire.
right, fire.
And so, yeah, I might go bigger, but this is fine. What did he fold?
8-10.
Yeah.
Top pair. Got him to full top pair. I mean, that's,
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a turn where you turn donk, this I think is a really good spot.
yeah. That's a lot of believing from him.
It is.
That's a lot of believing.
Well, you know, if you should have 7-5 seated.
Mhm.
You do have 6x that plays that way. I mean, it's a really good run out for this block.
Yeah. That was nice. All right, Mike.
Yo. Oh. All right. So ace threes, the bottom, we know that you can actually fold this in some ranges. We are not going to. So let's raise it up and see what happens.
This is an
We
instant
get a
fold. with three
little
bets.
raise from a broken stack.
Yeah,
We are at the very bottom. Shoot. I don't know if we should defend this or not. I probably would just fold.
yeah.
What are our pot odds? I mean, yeah, this is probably close, and I would just probably just default to fold this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, against the normal size, I certainly do. So
Yeah,
that's a crazy adjustment.
because we're already like ace three, I think is like mixing on some charts. I know we can open it, you know, when we're facing population. And two broken stacks behind you, raise it. I raise it all the time myself.
Yeah.
So we call, which is probably okay.
Mhm.
And we get a really kind of crappy flop for being the 3-bet caller. What does he do? He goes B75, fold.
Yeah, yeah, fold. All we
Let's
have is
see.
an inside straight draw. Our over is no good. We only have an inside straight draw, and it'll be so obvious. And we split the pot all the time. And he's free rolling with his ace queen and ace 10. Yeah.
How deep do you go here, Scotty?
Oh, I take this pot away from him. This is what's about to happen. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, this is why this hand is here. I cannot justify I can justify barely this. I can't justify this, but I can justify when I saw this that I said, I'm going to show this to Larry.
Was that genuinely your thoughts at this time?
Yeah, well, I'm surprised I only called it. I think I called it with the idea of, well, if you're going to make it this easy, but I think I'm going to bluff the river because of that.
So why bluff the river and not the turn on that side? And
First of all, I don't know.
okay,
I thought I was because I thought I was going to do it now, but the other thing is because he's made it completely affordable for me to draw. I mean, he's giving me the express odds. Like, I don't even need to get any money on the river for this to be a profitable call against a range that doesn't have full houses.
what do you win with ace high here? Do you?
One problem you have too is his stack size is kind of awkward. If you raise here, I mean, what are you raising to? I mean, you're kind of stuck on the river.
Yeah, if I raise here, I kind of have to. I mean, if I
If
raised,
you raise here, you're gonna, I mean, and he checks, I mean, you would have to, you know, jam like maybe half pot at the as your biggest possible size,
Yeah.
depending on how much you raise on the turn. So you just
Yeah,
don't have
to
any
get-
old
it's-
equity.
it's going to be hard to get him off king 9 if if I break it into two pieces. And it might even be hard to get him off queen jack because he's not going to fold queen jack now. And maybe the river, there's just not enough left to get him to fold it. But there is if I do this. That's the nice thing. Okay, his size, he goes 16. He goes 16 after betting this. I think it's happening. Yep, it is happening.
And they fold.
No, he
Okay. I was gonna say, I'm so confused.
fold.
I was gonna say, wow, okay, I'm surprised they
Fuck
fold.
you,
now.
Larry. Fuck you right in the head, right in the neck.
Ouch.
All right. So so I guess the problem is that once he goes this size, even though he doesn't have it, he doesn't have enough left behind to get a fold out of him.
Yeah,
He
no, they don't. I think if we're going for the bluff, in my head, it makes more sense to do it on the turn, even for about half pot, right? Which equals to the same as calling that. I know you're never calling that. And then if they go over the top of you, you just fold it, right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't have enough equity to call that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you go here like to 16 or so with the
Yeah.
idea of that's what I'm gonna do with a 10.
yeah. And then obviously if they call it and then donk the river, you obviously just fold. Or if they call it and then check the river, I don't think I even find the bluff. I think I just accept that they've called my bluff and they're probably beating me and I'm not folding much here.
That it's a
Right.
it's a one street bluff because they don't have enough behind. In that case,
Yeah.
do you ever totally commit to your beliefs?
What, and
And
just
just-
shove here? Potentially, it depends on the person. I wouldn't be in this situation. I'm not gonna lie. I would have folded for
Yeah.
at least the flop, but probably the pre-flop. But I'm just trying to think what I would do in this situation, and I would have probably tried to bluff the small size in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would shove it. I think I would just go, and yes, they're going to go over the top of me, even with potentially their bluffs. But I think in this case, I go for about half pot and just bluff the turn. And if they call or shove me, I'd probably give up then.
All right.
I don't know what's correct or what, but yeah, I don't think I would have done what you done, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you, Larry. All right. Let's see what who's up next. I don't know who did the last one.
Oh, Mike did that one.
Okay, in that case, it is Richie.
Okay, so King 5 can open here, can't they? So yeah, open. 6-3 should fold. Queen 5, yeah, fold. 5-6. Yeah.
Never fold. Can't fold.
No, they can't fold. I'm just wondering if this is ever 3-bet, but I think you just
yeah.
call, right?
Three bet all the time.
You
All
3-bet all the time. Okay.
All the time, yeah.
I was trying to work out if it's more of a cold or mix or if it's always 3-bet, but it's
Oh, no,
always
it-
3-bet here, is it?
No, I said it wrong. It is a mixed 3-bet. That I just meant it's one of the ones that it's a mixed 3-bet against every position.
Okay.
Yeah, perfectly fine 3-bet.
Okay, so it doesn't matter, is it? Is it pretty split, mixed, or is it heavied one way?
Poker coaching has made a bit of a simplification, and I think it's gone on and said that of all the ones that do it, it likes this one best. I think that's what they said. Let's see. But peak mixes across all of them. So here we go. I mean, yeah, I said it wrong. Yeah, peak, I think concentrated it in that one. This is the cutoff raise and the big blind and the it loves the 6-7. That's what it is. It does the 5-6, it loves the 6-7, but that is
Okay.
not true in the wizard. We're gonna do here's the 3 wizard, cutoff, big blind. It's all along that ridge.
Okay.
Yeah. So if he can do it as much as he wants, and he can also call. He is perfectly as long as he doesn't fold.
Fair enough.
Doesn't-
Yeah, so they call. Okay, wow. Okay.
Is that because you get their stack when they have a wheel?
Oh, you mean why the 5-6 you mean why you play these ones down here?
Or why I was wondering why the concentration on the 5-6.
They're two
'Cause I
live
think
cards.
like if they're playing a lot of ace-5 and the wheel comes, you get their stack.
Yep, that's true.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking.
but 6-7 doesn't have that property and it likes it. What it
Yeah.
is
So,
what
so
it
I'm thinking
is.
like with all the love of ace-5,
Yeah.
they're gonna counter that with their 5-6.
Yep. That makes sense. That makes total sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you're also it's where your king 6 comes from.
Can you explain the king 6 to me?
That on boards of 2, 3, 4 of boards of 2, 3, 4, 5, where they have an ace, which they have a lot because they're
They
the
have
raise.
ace-5, they have a wheel again.
Yeah.
So
Or even if they
yeah,
just have
okay.
ace jack, they still have a straight.
Yeah.
But what's going on here with these as compared to these is your 8-9 makes this 10 jack queen straight that his ace king coolers you with.
And everyone plays
Same
all the
thing with the
broadways.
8-9 with a king queen, but down here that just doesn't happen. They just don't have as many of those hands to cooler you, and you have 2 live cards. Here you can be dominated. Here
Yep.
you're rarely dominated. You can be, but it's not common.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing in the offsuit branch, which is 3 times the size of the suited branch.
Okay, so villain checks this. I was considering if this is a donk one, but I think the size is too big, or am I wrong here on a single set board?
This is
Um,
GTO way off.
Way off, okay.
GTO has small bets on monotone boards, and I don't think you get to donk this board at all.
Yeah, I thought imposition usually just have the small bets on a monotone board, but I'm not fully confident with donks, so I would have been surprised, I guess, if it was donkable, but I would be very surprised if it was donkable this size.
Mike
Yeah,
and
okay.
Larry, Mike or Larry, put this flop in for me, please, because I've only got peak, and in peak doesn't let you donk this at all, ever. Okay, going on. So he does.
Okay, they donk, and now the king obviously isn't fully happy, but they've got top. Okay. I would have said maybe call, but I guess with this play, you're kind of finding out where you sit, but you're not probably getting many folds even against drawing hands here. So you're just inflating the pot for no reason, it feels like. So yeah, I don't like this. I can see why people do this, but I disagree. So and then obviously 5-6 calls that maybe they're slightly concerned now because they could be beaten by a higher flush or potentially a draw, and you want to keep the bluffs in as well, but also they're drawing to the straight flush. Obviously now they're concerned that they're beat by the single card flush, so they should check, which they do. This person here now, are they representing just randomly that they have the heart without a heart and are hoping they're cooler in a smaller one? In theory, that's the only line I can see they're trying to do here, or do they just give up? If I was them, I wouldn't be here, but I guess you've got to give up now, right? Unless you're literally just spewing.
And hope that it goes check, check, and you win with your top pair. I mean, they
Yeah.
pair into a bluff.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then 5-6 now with the check back. Obviously, you're hoping that you're winning, but because top shouldn't be checking back here, but I guess they could be checking back to induce. And then here now you've got some showdown, but most of the time you beat. This is flipping, I guess. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is frying my head because it feels so just random from both players. But I guess because they've checked back twice, they've capped themselves, so you could potentially go for a random here. But yeah, it just feels like a really bad stab, like bluff, etc. And it might work. 5-6 here now.
So here,
It's again a polarized one, right? They either have it or don't. Obviously, we can see the hands. If I'm 5-6 here, I wouldn't be happy. Because what flushes are you actually beating? You're beating 4-3-2, and you're losing to every other one. So it's literally a bluff, pure bluff catcher, right?
it's a pure bluff catcher. And it's that thing that the guys with the four, it's that thing with the guys with the four who beat me could be thinking, which is this. I lose to a lot of, when this comes in, I lose to a lot of those hands. And none of those hands check here. And none of those hands, when I've checked twice, bet this size. The ace doesn't check and then bet this size because when he checked the turn, he was afraid that I didn't have a flush and I was going to fold, right?
Yeah.
When I
You-
check again, I've told him I don't have a flush. So he's got to bet really small with the ace. What the jack was the one who wanted to check back and say, maybe you've got the ace, but now you don't have the ace. So let me get full value from a 9 by betting this size or a 10.
It's odd.
It's
The
just, the story doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but the only thing I guess you could give them benefit for that, they raised the donk, so maybe they were indicating they had a draw, and then checked back 2 and 2. Someone they didn't lead the flop, the river. They're going for higher value, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense, and it's tough. This is a pure bluff catch, and it would be solely based on the person, right? So I think majority of the time you fold unless you feel this person is very spewy, but their stats do. But there's only 7 hands, right? Yeah, majority of the time, I guess you fold unless you have a read that this is just a pure random spew, which obviously it is. It's just a weird situation.
And so here's a problem with this. So first of all, when you are wrong, you feel like a total idiot. You just feel
Yeah.
so dumb when he has the 9 of hearts here. Like, of course he has you beat. Of course he has you beat. And then at the same time going, what hand wants to do this? And there is no hand that this is a consistent story of check, 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 and then check, slam. But that's only assuming that this guy thinks. If he's a really bad player, you can't call this. You can only call this against a mediumly good player.
At this point, I'm genuinely in my head, I'm like, are we just over analyzing 2 players that don't have a clue what they're doing? Because
Right. Well, that was the thing with the guy with the
It's
fours. He didn't know if he was spewing or if he was playing really well, but his stats weren't spewy. This guy's only got 7 hands, but we had 84 hands on the other guy. His stats were not spewy. So
odd.
And I guess that was what I did with his hand was saying, could this guy have seen that this story doesn't fit? I don't know. Would have been easier if he'd bet pot. Because his over pot bet is under bluffed. But there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Tura. I'm not going to be in this hand, so just do it in its normal way. All right. Tura's not. I'm going to hit asked on mute. And if Tura doesn't come on in a second, it's going to be skate.
Skip me, guys, please.
Okay, skip Tura. All right, skate.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. So yeah, by the way, I was thinking about that King Jack hand, the first hand, with the King Jack against Ace 9. Yeah, the river check, as you mentioned, I think that was really good with us. Yeah. Okay, here. Yeah, we could open 9s. Let's open 9s. Fold around to or limp.
Yuck. That's terrible. I hate this. I hate this about everything about it, but I hate it even more here.
Oh, we got the poster there. Huh?
Poster. I hate it. I hate the limp, but I hate it even more with a poster. I think that makes it more. Even if you got a limping strategy, you should take it out when you have a poster.
Yeah, he definitely should have gone at least 3, like a 4.
Yep, I like it. All right, but this is what he likes to do.
Yep. Boom, boom. I imagine we're gonna get a few more limps there. No.
Yeah. Can you squeeze a King 10 offsuit here? I don't think so.
I would squeeze it
Mm,
here on, I would squeeze it on the button, not any other position, but I think I like to squeeze here with
Go
it.
for the squeeze? Okay.
I think
Yeah, I
so,
mean,
but
you're
only
never,
if you're
I-
full stack, right? Not when you're split stack like this person,
That's true
right?
too.
I would probably squeeze with on the button here, but I'd be full stack. I don't know. Does it make a difference squeezing with? I think it does with a broken
Well, what it
stack.
does changes the hand, it changes the composition of hands, and this hand goes up in value. As your stack gets shorter, your unsuited big cards that are the typically dominated cards go up in value, and your suited connectors and small pairs go down in value, and your suited aces, your suited wheel aces go down in value. This seems like an easy one with with the jet with king jack and king queen
yeah, maybe.
and ace 10, but king 10, I don't know. He goes for it. All right.
I would use a bigger size.
3, 4,
8.
5, 6.5. Yeah, you can, but this is technically correct. He's in position, so exactly pot, totally reasonable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Little on the small side, but
Yeah.
okay, so now the blinds should definitely fold.
Yep.
I imagine nines will call, and well, at this point, everyone might call except for Jack 8.
Might be too big to pay for 5-4 in the sandwich. I think it's a little too much to pay for it.
No,
But
he's gonna pay.
terrible. Can't be terrible to call it. Yep, he does. And Jack 8 does the
Yeah.
right thing. Okay.
All right,
Interesting
check
flop for
around.
5-4.
Yeah,
Check.
yeah, check around to aggressor. Yeah, he's repping the ace there, which I don't mind at all.
Fits his
Um,
range.
Yeah. Let's see if he's gonna get the sticky guy to call. He's got a good shot here, right? He's got a good shot with the back door. To this size, no, I don't think he can continue.
Yeah, and this guy's only got 5x behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a good. This is a really good hand, and this is, I think, getting into folding territory. But he doesn't fold.
Yep. Okay, I imagine it's King 10 may shut down now at this point. May. And should he? Yes.
This guy, so many aces. Yeah, he's not folding. Yep.
Yep.
All right, here we go. All right, now
Time to bluff.
100%. This is I think why I brought
Yes.
this here, is that if you're gonna call this 5-4, you have to bluff.
Yeah. As played, yes.
Otherwise, you only have otherwise you're only playing for hitting it, and that's not enough. He
Ooh.
has to be there.
Yeah, that's definitely correct. Like you gotta find ways of winning when you miss, and of course bet when you hit it.
Right. And I would say the way I would put it is if he folds here, I'm okay with that. But if he's going to call, he cannot call with a strategy of I will win with a 3 and maybe sometimes with a 5 or a 4. But I mean, not that it's going to go that the turn's going to go check all the time, but for him, if he can only call this bet if he has this play in his arsenal: check, bluff. That is something that I could be wrong about, but I feel strongly about.
Yeah, no, same here, same.
All right. Here we go. And the next one is after skate, it's Tura if Tura wants to come back in. And so, but if he doesn't, it's going to be me and then Derek. All right. So Tura hasn't come back in yet. So the next one is going to be me. And I'm in this hand. So let's see if I know how I play. All right. I open this to 2.5. Here we go. I get called by the big blind. That's pretty simple. I flop middle pair. I should go check. And oh, before I go check, I should see, is this a bluff? Is the board a range bet board? And the answer is no. So I go check. Happy there. I hate the 8. He goes check. I was marginally made before. I'm still marginally made. It hasn't changed. I can check this. The one thing I could say is that he bets a lot of his jacks. And so my 9 is now probably good, but so did his straights come in, and I don't have a flush card. So let's see. I go for the bet there on the idea that the 9 is probably good. And I'm only going to bet one time. And he just jams on me. And so I have to fold. And I'm going to bet that this is a bluff. It is.
Crazy. That is just
And he found it
nuts.
work. But this doesn't work if I check behind. We see a river, and the river may be extra scary, but look at this guy saying that I bet all my flush draws on the flop. I didn't check a flush draw. Therefore, I don't have a flush here. Therefore, screw you, Scotty. It is possible that we're meeting spewy players, or it is possible that somebody has figured out how to play small pairs against me.
But yeah, this is obviously there's no way of this person knowing that they've played against you before and they only have 5 hands against you. So they kind of work that out. So this is just, as you said, probably saying you're capped because you would have continued your flush draws. But I don't know,
But
it just
size. This size is unnecessary.
It is way too unnecessary, right? Because if someone was slow playing, which is rare, you're just getting, I don't know, it just doesn't feel profitable to me, but they've risked so much for so little, right? It's just, yeah.
20 big blinds does all the work that this does. So I think in this case, he's spewy. The other time, he had to go all in because I had bet 40. You know, it was in a 3-bet pot and it was on the rip, and the guy just bet big. I don't think he jammed on me. This is spewy because the sizing makes no sense. But the thought process might be right.
Yeah, I agree. I think the takeaway is the thought process, as you said, and then what we need to really decide then is kind of, this, what's it, Mark Goon's thought process of, the borderline of value and bluff for the fold, right? And where that crosses over, because if you get called there, you're just always getting called by better, right? Which obviously is the case because you got nothing. But if you find the size to where they're folding, or you can continue in certain cases and then just give up in other cases, it's a lot more profitable. I think the concept of you being capped and them challenging your cap makes 100% sense. But yeah, I'm not sure what the perfect sizing is. I think, as you said, 20 seems like a reasonable, because what's the total pot now? 7.5. So that's 2.5 roughly over. Maybe slightly bigger than 20, but yeah, I don't think it's ever this much.
Right. And then also for a check raise here to a reasonable size check raise to 8, or an unreasonable size check raise to 16, 8x, that's, that kind of thing. Anything like that still leaves enough behind. Remember the Mark Goons thing of what is the most profitable bluff? The one that gets called on the turn or the flop and the turn.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, you go for a 2-street bluff to get a call and then a fold. Yeah, true.
Right. More believable, stronger, and gets more money in there. And it also lets you get away from it if I jam. Because I'm not rejamming you as a bluff ever, right? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, actually, that's very true. So size smaller for 2-street bluff, playing as long as the card doesn't, like another club, you wouldn't continue the bluff, I would assume. But if it's a brick in most cases, i.e. not a pair, etc., you can continue that you're representing the flush, and you go slightly bigger for the fold, but also, yeah. So what are you saying here then? 15, did you say?
Yeah, let's go to, if he wants, if he feels the need to do it, if he really feels the need for it to be one and done, 20 probably does that.
Yeah, 15.
Wants
Yeah,
to
no, that makes
play-
sense.
Yeah, if he wants to
So-
play, oh, go
Go
on.
on. Oh no, sorry. I was just trying to do the maths on the pot. So if we said 15 here, that would bring the pot to 22 big blinds. And then on the turn, let's say it's a brick for us to continue our two street bluff. What do you bluff on the river with 22 big blind pot?
Oh, no, so he goes, no, it's not 22. He goes to 15 here. I call him, that's 30, that the pot's 35.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry.
Pot's 35.
Yeah.
He's got 60 behind, 2x pot. Boom. Especially if you're willing to risk this, why not risk it in a way that you get more money in? And you get out of it. You can also not go 2x pot. You can just go pot size if you want. But if you're trying to get me to fold a pair because I can't have a flush,
And to be fair, this fives arguably has some form of backdoor equity with the gut shot straight, very arguably a stretch, right? Because they get beat by higher straights, i.e. a 10, right? Yeah. But if we are going with this, then if we're genuinely saying this is something worth potentially considering doing, as us being the villain here, do we need to be holding a club or not holding a club?
you should be holding a club to play this game. But
Okay.
if he's playing full on Mark Goons, where he's only paying whether my range is capped, so he's only worrying about my hand and not his.
Yeah.
If all the focus is my hand with his bluffs, and we don't worry about blockers, then yeah, go to 16 here and then jam for 2x pot and get me to fold all my pairs and even two pairs.
Fair
Everything
enough.
flush, get me to fold everything but a flush. But yes, it would be great to have a club and reduce my flushes a little bit.
Okay. That
But-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Have any of you tried this on like maybe dropping down a stake or so to try plays like this?
No, I don't like this play.
Not the all-in one, the one what we were talking through is the hypothetical for Mark Goon, the two-street
Mark
bluff.
Goon's one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine to do. Or we might do, we might study the our best version of Mark Goons and play it for a month and see how we all do. Instead of solver work, instead of, what we understand as poker coaching.
You want to hear something funny? I just did a quick just plug this into Wizard and did the shove like you did.
Mhm.
And you're folding flushes here. You're folding king high flushes.
Wow. That's surprising.
Sets are like calling at super low frequency. Straights are folding almost completely.
Wow, king high flushes. That's
They're
crazy.
mixing. Yeah, the king high flushes are mixing.
Is that because there's a straight flush on the board as well? Like
Oh
potentially?
no.
That seems nuts.
Well,
Again, sorry, I don't know if we're overanalyzing it.
We have
a
to
quite
just
unique spot.
drop it down to the six of clubs instead of the 8 of clubs, and then
But the 6 would
five
pair
of
the
clubs.
board, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be 5 here.
Yeah, 5 of clubs, and then there's no straight flush. If you as long as you got it there, make that 8 of clubs the 5 of clubs, and see what flushes we're folding.
No, same.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. So yeah, it's just the way you play and how you have to play against his nut flush here.
I guess it's because pot odds are complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because it's so cheap to fold here to take his whole stack when you have the ace high flush.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
So you obviously call with the ace high flush, and if they have a straight flush doing this, you just accept you lost, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
of course. But what I mean is that when a bet is this out of proportion, the reason you can fold is the amount of times you're allowed to lose.
Just 2 big blinds or
equity,
whatever, slightly more.
plus your 5 big blinds. You can lose this 20 times and still profit for the one time you get him.
Crazy. Yeah. No, it makes complete sense. Yeah. It just I would have never thought it, but when you describe it like that, it does make sense. Folding the king, I can understand the queen, but yeah, described it like that makes sense. That's good. That's good to know, to be fair.
Because you think of it the other way, you think, oh, this is such a good idea of him because he can get me to fold a king high flush, if assuming I'm a solver. But it's the opposite. It is also true, which is he's making it so I can easily, crush this play. Because remember, when he does this with the ace high flush, he gets no value.
Yeah.
This is a terrible play.
Yeah. Cool.
So
No, that's
anyway,
that's another nice point to take away as well about the overfold in this situation because of how cheaply it is to fold. I like that. Thank you.
because Mike, what percentage of time does he jam here? 0.0001%?
Oh, yeah, zero, probably zero.
Yeah, you just made him do it. Yeah.
Yeah, 0%.
Yep. All right, Derek, you have the next hand.
Yo.
And the next hand is this.
Wow. The nuts.
Right.
4 high.
Yeah.
Well, since we're playing this, folded.
Oh no, I don't play it. I didn't play it.
Okay. Well, ace king suited, bet it. Fold. Fold. This is a fold.
No, this is a call.
This is a call? Okay.
This is a call to the 2.5. Again, in the sizes that you guys raised to, like where the openers go 4x and 5x and 6x, this is a fold. But to the 2.5x, this is a call. This is a
Okay.
solid call.
Only cost you 1.5 more, so.
Yeah, you have to call this.
Oh, we flopped really well.
Yeah.
None of our straight outs, but. So we check range. Now, we have top pair, so we can bet, but we don't need to. Sometimes I play silly bugger and just check back when
Right.
I hit this.
I don't want to check back on this board ever
The
because,
flush draw, then straight
well,
draw.
kind of. What it is we can bet this not just with our ace king. We can bet this. We can bet pure here every hand, as Larry points out. But the reason not to do it is when he has anything, we get value from it by being called because he doesn't fold a jack to one bet. But also the other hands that he calls with, like a king or a 10, have outs against us, and the ones that are going to fold are never going to get enough to get money against us. So I like the bet here.
Okay.
Yeah. And he does.
Okay.
Yeah. And Richie points out how much value we get from ace 10 here and ace 9. From all his aces and his ace 5. They all call.
So we have a draw to our shitty flush,
Yep.
so we can probably continue.
Yep. You want to continue by calling or check raising?
I want to call. I want to.
Me too. This board is just too good for his range to check raise into it, I think.
Yep.
And that's something that we're going to look at. I don't think there's a lot of check raising here with this low flush. Calls?
Oh, we get some equity.
Well, we did.
Eric gets equity. He thinks about betting.
He checks.
We can check here or we can bet, but probably almost all of one.
Yeah. I definitely want to continue betting here, especially with the heart coming in, because now I can get called by backdoor hearts and get value from them.
Yep. So we can bet here.
Yep.
I like the bet size.
Yep.
I like potting on the turn.
Yep.
Okay, we've got flush draw and a yeah, so we can call here.
Yeah, I think so. It's getting dicey. We might be doing some folding. We might be folding without that 7. Like we might be
Yeah.
folding our
We
5,
could-
6
we
here.
could grab the 7.
Yeah.
We would call. Now we're five.
I think we
bets.
can't. Yeah, I think we can't fold now. Yep.
Yep. So we just call. Ooh. We get the nuts.
Right. And what do you do as the 7-5? The board is so, I mean, do you hope he has a jack, but not a bigger flush? I'm always stuck out of position. What do you do here?
I'm betting
I don't think this is, I think this is a little bit too low for our raising threshold. I think we check and see what size he is.
Okay. He just goes for the
Oh.
pot. He just says, come on, have a jack. And this guy folds top two.
Yeah, I thought this would be actually a good spot to lead big as opposed to lead small.
All right. Let's solve this.
Could be wrong though.
Yeah, this is low jack. So let's see, his initial bet size was 2.5. So let's do this one in the wizard with a 2.5. You want to do this, Mike or Larry? Who's going to do it?
I've got it open already if you want.
Okay.
On the
all right.
wizard.
All right, take it, Richie.
Okay.
Let me get out of Zoom.
Oh, 2 seconds. Sorry, a YouTube video opened at the same time then when I switched tabs. Okay, share. You can see that.
Yep.
So I got, yeah, the open of the low jack 2.5, the call from the big blind. That's the right board, right? Ace jack. Yeah.
Yep.
Check. So they bet 75, right?
They bet closer to pot. Let's start with a 75 and then we'll look at the one.
Yeah. So, and when I went here, surprisingly,
Oh, right. Oh no, you meant on the flop. On the
Oh
flop.
yeah, on the flop.
Sorry. His size on the flop was 3 was like 4.
Yeah, so 75, cool. And surprisingly, there's actually a reasonable amount of folds from the 7-5 here.
Against the big size. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But obviously they called, and then the 7 of hearts came in. They checked back, and then they went pot, but there isn't a pot size bet. So there's 75 or 125. So
Yeah,
the 75, the big blind,
that's closest to it.
yeah, still has a reasonable amount of folds, but obviously some calling. And then as soon as it goes up to 125, it's all fold. So I don't know if that means pot bet would be a fold as well.
Let's go back to that 75 and
Yeah.
see. You'll notice how important having the 7 is, because look at that. 8-5, 8-6, 9-6 all fold.
Yeah. So
You have to have the 7 to even consider calling.
yeah. I found that quite interesting, but it does, I guess, make sense because you just hit that. They're just hitting the range so high up here, right?
Yeah, and I don't do this enough. I do not fold flush draws and open-ended straight draws enough on the turn when they bet big.
So, like, I don't know if this is true, but in population, it feels like people are betting big more for fear rather than value, right? Where in Solver World, they're doing mix, aren't they?
Well, it's fear, but it's not fear that my hand isn't good enough. It's fear of being outdrawn.
Yeah, okay.
So they do this with ace, they bet big with, ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack to get you to fold the flush draw because they don't want to get outdrawn. They don't bet small to make you pay for it.
So I wasn't sure what you wanted to do on this next stage then. So we got the 75, and technically that's the closest one to the call-in range, right? Because if we did it the other way, the solver might not be happy. So we call that.
Yep.
And then I can't remember what the last card was.
The last card is the king of spades.
Yeah, I saw already the solver's not happy because of the call on the flop due to the 70 B75. It already gave us the warning.
Oh, okay.
And then they just bet
donk.
small. They donk small. I thought it was donk big, but they donk small.
Right.
But just.
And when they donk small, the ace king calls, and when they donk big, which they're not supposed to do.
Yeah. So how much did they donk big? Pet pots, pet size?
On pot.
Pot. So the closest to that would be 85, right? Or would we go over? We'll go 85. And then
Betting five.
king, what was it? Ace king offsuit, wasn't it?
Yeah, ace king off, ace king. He has ace king of diamonds.
Ace king
Ace
of diamonds,
king.
sorry. Ace king of diamonds, obviously still a call. And if they went slightly bigger, and then it becomes a fold.
Pure fold. Yep, pure fold 2 pair. Because you have. Like,
Yeah, because your 2 pairs lose into the flushes as well as the straights, right? Because even a 10 beats your 2 pair. Stim. Anyone wanted to look at anything else on this one?
nope, that's good. Here we go. So this is one of those cases where you do donk, but you donk small. All right, next hand goes to. That was
Just in case what you did call to want to know what you call to a large donk in the ace king situation. Sets are mixing between calling and folding. Some sets call, some sets fold. It's pretty much straights that consistently call but still have some folds. Flushes raise, straight flushes raise.
I don't remember who did the last hand, whose hand that was. So I'm gonna assume that it was Derek and go to Larry. That's what I'm gonna assume it was.
All right. So it's my hand.
Yep.
All right, this is too early for the 8-7. Jack's an open.
Yep.
I took opens, and he should raise and take eventually.
He should. But look at this guy right here.
Yeah,
Let's look at his HUD stats, shall we?
While we're waiting for looking at these head stats, just out of curiosity, do you ever shot take at higher stakes with a shorter stack? So usually you play 100 big blinds. Would you ever shot take
Yeah, I did
at
that a
higher
lot.
stakes for 50
Nope.
big blinds?
Nope.
yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean,
Yeah, I do
the
that
way
a
I look
lot.
at it is that our training is around playing 100 big blind stacks,
Okay.
and so I would stick with 100 big blind stacks. And what I would do I would just, if I was playing online, I would just rat hole really aggressively, like leave after you get to 130 bigs or 150 bigs or something. But the way I look at it is that, all our training that we're doing, looking at solvers, the majority of training around cash is at 100 big blinds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So focus on 100 big blinds.
So
Yeah, because if you haven't trained for it, makes sense. But yeah, Derek, your point of view?
I'm good at playing 20 big blind stacks. So I would go to like
Gosh, that's very small, isn't it?
25, 50.
Yeah.
If there was a good game there, and it's easy to play a 20 big blind stack. So if there was a good like 25, 50 or big game, then I would sit in that and be totally not worried about the money.
Okay.
So,
But I think for the purposes that you were asking about, Richie, that Larry's point is play the best game. If you want a shot take take one buy-in or something as opposed to 5 buy-ins that I'm going to lose. If this, see how you do with it. 1.5, so you can lose a couple of hands and still be full, but play your full stack because that's what you've trained at.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. When you say it like that, it's kind of obvious, right? You haven't trained short stack, so why would you put yourself in a situation you're not trained for? So it's very obvious.
Better player.
I think
Right.
I think that's a reason why you want to train short stack.
Yeah.
Because
Except
if you play short stack, then their skill, if someone has a skill advantage over you, it won't be as great.
And that's what I was thinking as well, but
Yeah.
I did forget the training aspect. And the
Yeah.
question is then, are you wasting your time training at a shorter stack, which would be more valuable training at a bigger stack, right? And that's what you have to decide, I guess.
so.
Like the bigger the stack, the more skill is involved, right?
Yeah.
So, like when I play 1-3, I want like 400 big blinds or more, right? But when I play
Obviously, you're talking about live there, yeah.
2550, I want, and I think I might be playing against world-class competition. I want to play the shortest stack possible.
Right.
And
It's-
I might be there because there's one roulette player or fish sitting there.
So
Does that make
that's a
sense?
good point you bring, Derek, because I mainly play online, but I do play live now and then. But when I play live, because I'm not trained in 200 bigs or 50, right? I will regularly buy in for 100, where everyone else will be obviously maybe 200, and there's short stacks as well.
Yeah.
But then the people who have an advantage over me, I'm in the place I know comfortable, which is 100, but also I've taken some of their edge away because I'm only playing 100, not the 200. So I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
online, I think I agree with Scotty and Larry that because we train in 100, unless you train in shorter, which you might do, but I don't think I want to, because that training, I could probably use that time more valuably, improving my 100 big blind game.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's the thing. 20 big blinds allows you to sit down at a 2550 table, let's say. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's say you want to get the experience because you want to move up to play like world-class stakes, and there's a huge fish sitting there, right? Who's just spewing off money. You can play, look up and learn to play 20 big blind stacks because it's all pre-flop,
Make a pair and stay in.
right? It's all playing very tight.
So I get what you're saying, but you would probably have to take more away from that, right? In that situation, you're sitting at that table to get a feel of how people play as well, rather than just purely playing for 20, right? You're sitting there using that time to evaluate your players, I get your opponents.
Except that, yeah, okay. So I will disagree. And while what Derek is saying is true, that if you were going to play in a game that you either weren't staked for or weren't prepared for, playing shorter allows you to play a simpler strategy and to cut your possible losses. But when you shot take, your reason for shot taking is not that you want, I mean, basically you're playing roulette now. You're saying, let me make a big, because you could go to a table, you could go to a world-class table with, with 10 big blinds and play against the best player in the world and just shove. You're just playing
gamble, bingo, roulette, as you say.
Right, but that isn't what you're trying to do. And when Derek points out, but what if there's a real fish at the table? Well, if there's a real fish at the table, a whale, you want to have a deep stack to take his deep stack, because your advantage over him comes from the bigger mistakes he makes in bigger plays.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree with you, definitely. I can see where Derek's coming from, but I agree with you. And
I basically get this stuff from Greenstein, Barry Greenstein.
Yeah. Barry Greenstein, yeah.
He talks about moving up, and he's an advocate of short stacking when you move up.
Okay.
So look up what Barry Greenstein has to say. Do you have his book?
No, you mean Ace on the River? Ace on the River?
Yeah.
That book? No, I don't have it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Greenstein was also writing at a time. Greenstein was writing at a time before solvers and before the kind of training we do.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So I think it simplifies to the edge you're trying to build is in this game, and you're taking a shot not to gamble higher, but to see if you can hang with them. And so bring your best game there, which is the 100 big blind game. But yeah,
a lot of it is learning the players, right?
Okay.
So you want to learn, like, let's say there's only one table of 2550 where you play, right? You want to learn the players with an edge.
I get you. So you mean if you're regularly at that table sitting down with the same players. So from a live scenario where in your local casino, it's regularly the same players playing at that stake, you're sitting down there to get information for them cheaply so that when you go with a full stack, you're, I guess, pre-researched on the players. But from an online scenario, it wouldn't make sense because
You could just
very
slow-
unlikely you're just sitting down with random
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Okay.
I just play live.
Yeah, no, I get your point of view then.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so,
get it.
yeah.
Okay.
So I should have
All right, cool.
prefaced that.
Yes, this hand is Larry.
Yeah, sorry for the distraction again.
No
It's
problem.
just seriously talking
It's all right. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we get a call from the fish.
Yep. Or the guy,
Uh,
or the shot taker from a lower stakes. Could be that's
Yeah,
what he brought in.
and hero should fold and big blind should fold.
None of this should happen. right?
Okay, so this is a very awkward position. We've got two short stacks on this flop. Not the flop we want with jacks. I think we check a lot.
Yep.
See what he does.
He checks.
I think we call often with the jack of clubs. So at this point, I think we continue to check. Essentially, betting is turning our hand into a bluff, which he's doing.
Mhm.
We could argue we're trying to get value from lesser pairs.
You mean like Jack six?
Jack six should fold. So he's
Yeah.
gonna call with his 6-side flush draw. If I were this guy and I stabbed and this guy called, I'd probably check call on. But he's putting in a blocker sizing and the crash.
And does this guy sense the blocker? Is that what's interesting about this hand? No, that's what's interesting.
Yeah, I just wants to see what he had.
Yeah. So
You see that sometimes.
here's why I marked this hand. Very often, we ask the question where we're talking about what to bet for and, and what we beat and we don't. We say, but what could I get called by? We never consider this.
Yes,
That's the only reason I wanted to show the hand.
we never consider that kind of hero call. I mean, I've seen people do this live when they're like, oh, I just want to see what you have.
Yeah. This is a terrible idea. Never do that. You can see what they have on using someone else's money, not your money.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that we should learn in poker. You never have to call them to find out how they play.
No, you're right.
That
Calling to
information.
find out information is a losing proposition.
Yep. And the advice my dad gave, who was not a poker player, which came from that, which was, he said, any fool can learn from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, well done, Scotty's dad.
That's a cool saying. I haven't heard that before, I don't think.
Yep.
Question.
invited to say
It makes
something.
sense what you're saying. Would you even fold to a one big blind, right? Where you're you're almost certain you've been beat, right? But would you fold to a one big just to get to get info, or do you still think
I think I
you're
would,
being foolish?
I don't know if it's worth it.
It might be worth, but the hands that can't beat a one big blind bet might be
Shouldn't
the
be
ones
there.
that should be bluffing. They shouldn't be
Okay.
there, but it might be the ones that need to bluff.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah,
For all I know. I don't know.
I would raise a one big blind.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what he's thinking, that 5 big blinds is the same as 1 big blind. It's just,
For their stack size, I get you, but for that stack size, it doesn't make sense. That's a big part of their stack. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think
It's-
your logic of don't be a fool, pay him for
Yeah.
the info is a lot better there. Even with the one big blind, if you're unsure, it's probably just best to live on the rule of let someone else pay for it, right?
right, Mike.
Alrighty.
Extra big raise.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what we should do with ace 10 suited. This might be actually solidly in the call arena.
Yeah. Do you still have those 4 big blind ranges available?
Yeah.
Okay. In only 6-handed or also 8-handed?
It's 8-handed only.
Right, let's take a look at what the range does against an 8-hand, because I had no idea against 4 where how
Yeah.
how much it changed. I was considering folding.
All
Yeah, I
right, let's see.
consider folding too.
If you want me to share, I think you got to give it to me.
Yeah, let's share that range.
All right. My prediction is that it's pretty solidly in the just flat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right, so we got this raise from this. It's not quite under the gun 9-handed, but it's under the gun 8-handed.
Yep.
And the button. Okay, it's actually mixing folds, raises, and calls.
I'm so glad that I was confused. That's a good hand to be confused by.
And just to show you the difference, if we go to under the gun 9-handed, I don't know what the
Oh,
difference
it's
is.
a three bet.
2.5. I think ace 10's calling a lot there too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this range of aces to that early position.
Okay.
Look at these
In the
queens.
cutoff, look at us in the cutoff. I think you're gonna see, I think we're gonna pure 3-bet it in the cutoff.
Oh yeah, there's no calling in the cutoff.
Yeah, and I think that the ace 10 is not folding. Yeah, it mixes. All right, it's the king 10 that doesn't fold. All right, great.
Look at
Excellent.
ace 9.
The ace 9 folds.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between ace 10 and ace 9 because of the straights.
Mm.
And it's not just that the ace 10 makes a straight. It's also when the ace 10 makes a straight, the other guy, it hits the other guy's range hard. He has 2 pairs and top pairs and sets, and we have a straight.
Mm.
And so the straight becomes really valuable. That straight is more valuable than the ace 5 straight. Because when it's 2, 3, 4, it misses the guys, ace king and king queen and stuff. All right. So I'm pretty
What
sure I call.
What
I
did
call.
you do? You do
I call.
call.
Yep. Then we have the folds.
And we go to a flop. All right. Jack 9-4. Well, I don't know what he's going to do, but I would expect that population, especially somebody who opens to 4x, is going to c-bet more often than they should, in theory.
Right.
But let's see what he does.
And but if he does, I'm going to fold this hand. He
Yeah,
checks.
I would too. If they did bet, I would just fold it.
Yeah.
So our ace 10 probably it's not still probably decent showdown when they check, not just showdown, but equity to like still win a hand without
Yeah.
putting more money in. So I would probably just check behind with this hand.
Yep.
And I might stab with like ace 10 of diamonds, ace 10 of clubs, whatever. All right. What do they do?
They check.
Is it too thin? I don't think it is. I think now is a decent time to stab with like a B33.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. And
Okay.
if this guy check raises all in with 5s, with 4s,
Oh,
with
Yeah.
5, I am just sick of this site.
Oh no, I haven't eaten.
Yep. There we go. I bet large.
Okay.
Okay. So you're getting probably
Okay.
value
Right.
from weaker 10s and jacks. It's probably the only thing you can get value from, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
And I can
And draws.
ace
And there's
king-
some
I
draws
also-
out there.
Right, and an ace king and an ace queen can call this size, and I'm maxing the value I get from them.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I like that card.
I do
Like-
too, is assuming they check.
Yeah, if I can't have a 10, I like that card. They check.
I think, wow. So this is that conundrum. I really like trying to go for thin value against like recreational type players. This would fall under thin value, I think. So do we break the what you refer to as the Ben Affleck rule? And can you value bet for like
Yeah.
you know 8 or something, or 7 or whatever, like value bet for like a B33 and get away with it? Or do we just check behind and as opposed to reopening for like a B60?
In the early days of Jonathan Little, before solvers, he did a commentary of one of the live streams, and I don't think, I mean, there may have been solvers, but before he was using it a lot, for live at the bike. And in that one, he was advising a lot of less than 50% pot bets on the river. So he was thinking very exploitatively of, we need to get called by a 9, we need to get called by an ace king and an ace queen. What do they call? I think they call 6 or 7, and so he would suggest betting 6 or 7 here.
Yeah, so looking at like this villain's HUD stats, I think you could pretty solidly put him into the recreational. Doesn't have real aggressive type stats. He hasn't been aggressive so far. I think you can get away with like a small value bet.
Yep.
And the reason being because he's not going to raise you with worse, hardly ever.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I'm gonna stick here to the 8. You know, if I'm gonna go below 11, I'm not gonna go much below. You know, maybe go to 8. But
Yeah, and you might, and even like B60 you might get value from, I don't know, 8s, 7s, you know, somebody sticky with a pair,
let's try.
King 10, Queen 10,
Yeah, let's try. Ace queen.
Ace high,
Nailed
sure.
it. Nailed it. I'm really happy with, I'm happy with both sizes. I'm happy with the turn. Yeah, great. All right. Richie,
Am I up? Am I?
you are up.
Without distracting everyone too much again, I feel like I'm distracting a lot of people. I just got one more question that I put in the chat. Was if you're in early position, so imagine this person had a full stack, the early position player, right?
Mhm.
In early/middle position, and they know there's a call-in, and we know there's a call-in station behind, is it fine to increase our size with an aim to ISO the station? The reason I ask is, from experience, there was literally a call-in station, like calls everything, 100% over only a smaller hands, but still 100% over like 30 hands. When I went in with, I opened standard size from early position with ace king, right? Two strong players behind just obviously called because they knew there was a weaker player behind, right? And then they took my equity, and I was like, I want to be solely up against this call-in station. You've taken my equity from me. So the next time I had a stronger hand, instinctively, I hadn't studied it. I was just like, I'm straight away open larger because I'm telling these bigger players if they want to get in against this call-in station, they either have to pay more or go over the top of me, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely, that's a good adjustment to make.
Like at 1-2, I raised $17. That's my default raise size at 1-2. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it right to raise 8.5?
No, but
no, but
no,
in the games that I play,
but your game might
the
be
people I play,
that might be an exception. And
I always raise, because most places are no flop, no drop. So that also is distorting my opening raise. So I raise like even though it's not right in server land to raise more than 2.5 pre. My standard is 8 at 1-2. 8.5.
They could be making mistakes that is the right exploit against. Absolutely. If they are making those mistakes, if they are calling you with their Jack 10 offsuit from any position, even the big blind, to your raise to $17, that's great.
Yep.
They are playing that bad.
Yep.
And then you should also be raising to $17 even tighter, because you don't have to win that many, you know, when they call you, because the blinds are nothing. If the standard raise is to 17, or here's another way to put it. Imagine you played poker with people who were impatient and there were no blinds or antes. What's the best strategy to play?
Aces.
Aces and nothing else. Right? So because if that's the size of the pots you're going to be in, are gonna be that big and you're still gonna get called by garbage hands, then yeah, the blinds and antes mean nothing to you. You should go tighter and ridiculously big, yeah. But that is, you know, that style is highly exploitable, but they're not
No
exploiting.
question about that.
Right, right, but they're not
Like, I'm not
exploiting.
saying this is
Right.
game theory optimal. I
Yeah.
say this is what I do to win the most money.
That may be
That's
the absolute right thing in your game. I mean, certainly your results show that it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
All right. So, but
Cool.
Richie, to answer your question directly, absolutely. You find somebody who's playing, I mean, we saw this online in one of our studies before, where there was a guy whose VPIP was in the 70-80% range. He was limping everything and calling raises up to 7x. So, but with his full range, of his full shitty 70% range. So I tightened up a little bit, not much, and changed my raise size to 7x. And just
Okay.
knew that I was exposing myself to the other players.
So even if the call-in station has, because they're not just call-in station pre-flop, they're call-in station post-flop, right? So literally calling everything. They'll call down to river with second, third pair.
Yeah.
Even if they have positional advantage over you and you can't bluff them post-flop, do you still do that? Because obviously you've got to play tighter against them post-flop because
Yeah.
you can't. Okay, cool. No, that's cool.
Well,
I
but
thought instinctively, I thought that was the case. And obviously I managed to ISO them a couple of times with the larger sizes. But then obviously I completely missed the flop on multiple times and didn't really have much back equity. So I just had to give up. And I was like, is this right or not?
No, you're
So-
completely right, I would argue.
Okay.
You want to
But
play
you
the
have to
most
play-
exploitive.
But you have to tighten up because of how you're exposing yourself to the rest of the table.
Yeah. No,
Well,
makes sense. Cool. Excellent. Thank you.
And the more you tighten up, the less you sort of miss the flop. Because remember, ace king is an okay hand.
Yeah.
No, ace king unimproved is okay if a whole lot more money doesn't go in.
Yeah, no, excellent. Cool.
But a lot more money goes in, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, no. So Queen Jack opens. Queen Jack suited, should I say, opens. And then it falls around to big blind who calls, I guess.
That's what should
Bet.
happen.
Yeah, should happen, should I say. Wow,
And-
okay. So five, oh wow, five's hit the set. Okay. So they check because again it's a one color board for losing my thing monotone, and yeah, they don't want to donk this. Queen Jack here shouldn't. They never slow play, I guess, right? I was wondering, do you ever check back to slow induce? But I guess you just continue small.
But he does.
Okay.
At which point I hope the board pairs. Before I was not hoping.
I know
for-
that's the problem.
Now I do. Now I'm hoping he gets punished for that.
Okay.
We will take a look in the solver if you ever check back this flush, but I can't imagine you ever do.
Oh, yeah, I think
Okay.
you would.
You would?
Solver's gonna have checks, sure.
Okay. Oh, that's true. It protects its checking. It protects its check back range. Okay. There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
That's unfortunate.
That's just so mean.
You've gotta hate it sometimes. So fives now. Or they've got the nuts. Do they want to try and slow play? The other person showed no interest. You could argue slow playing because they've showed no interest, and the ace could be favored for them, and they might try and bluff from it. It's the most bluff card. But I think at the same time, maybe you do just want to start trying getting some value in the pot. So because they checked the flop, I think it's okay for fives to bet here now.
Yep.
So
Maybe
what
they-
size would they go? They've missed a straight half pot.
Yep. Maybe they have to bet small if they think the guy is that weak. You know,
Okay.
that would be the reason, but they want to bet big. I mean, the hand wants to bet big.
Yeah, the hand wants to bet big, but
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
So if you can't figure it out, then just half pot.
yeah. I
Figure out
think
what
half
small
pot.
is. You can go half pot.
And they, yeah, kind of half pot, a little bit merging it, at this small thing. But yeah, they've gone half pot, queen jack here now. They're kicking themselves probably slightly.
They think they're really happy. They still think they have the best hand.
Probably, right? Probably, yeah, because there's not many. Yeah. So, do you just keep on, if you're happy, do you just keep on hoping that someone's bluffing and piles the money into you when you got two streets, or do you want to go for a bit of value here now? You want to go for some value, but then you're not going to like it when someone goes above you, and are you going to be completely confident if someone calls you? It's I probably would raise this, but I would have probably bet on the rook to flop. So if I am raising this, I want to keep the weaker hands in. I would go. I'll probably go 10 big blinds.
He just calls.
It's
And
it's fine.
my feeling is if he's going to check the flop, that he should be continuing the same type of story. I
Fair.
think
Okay.
he's induced a stab. Why is he making it easy on the guy by
To fold. Yeah, that's true. Because if you're completely folded at that bluffing range, yeah, and you're only getting called by people who, I guess, either have
you're
your beat or
probably-
equity.
Right.
But
And
if,
you're probably not getting called by less than an ace, and an ace is probably betting the river
yeah.
unless another heart comes.
So if you raise though, ace is probably call.
Yeah.
Anything better will probably raise, or do
But
you
all the
think they
bluffs-
just call you?
No, the point is, I was throwing ace out as an example, which is saying so when he does this, he does
Yeah.
this with nothing, right? Because you checked back.
Yeah.
And you just tell him, oh no, nothing isn't good. Why are you doing that? That's bad. When he has a middle hand and you raise here, you're making it easy for him to fold and play correctly. And if he has an ace, which is, sort of his strongest hand, not, that you beat, he's probably betting again anyway. So you get the money that way.
Okay. So you just, in this situation, let them keep betting into you. You're getting beat by some value, and you're just getting value off people bluffing, and
Yeah.
just accept that you put yourself in a situation that's a bit awkward. Hope most of the time you're still going to be good. Obviously, sometimes you're just losing to people who slow played stronger hands.
Right. And the simple way I look at this analysis is if I bet the flop, which I would, by the way, I would have bet the flop here.
Yeah.
If I bet the flop, I have made a statement. I have a consistent story to continue betting. If I checked behind on the flop, I want to continue that story,
Okay.
which is a marginal hand. If I did that, I don't want to change that story till the river because I want, get the maximum value in position from his bluffs.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
we can put this in. This would not be a bad one to put in the solver. That'd be fun. All right, here we go. There's the call. And on the river.
Okay. Obviously, fives are gonna bet in some shape or form. And they're targeting the aces, right? They probably don't expect a flush to be lurking in, but even a lot of aces probably wouldn't fold here. So I think you go big, right?
Yeah.
What are we thinking? 2-3x pot? Is that too small? Or do we go even bigger than that? 3-4x pot?
3x pot and ace might start folding.
But so if you're looking purely at, I guess, pot percentage, 3x pot sounds big, but if you're looking at relative size to stack, 3x is only
Yeah, that's true.
30% a stack, right? So I feel like 30 bigs, 36 bigs, it would be roughly.
Mhm.
An ace would maybe still call, because I feel like population play relative rather than percentage.
Okay. Yeah. You mean they play absolute. They just play,
Absolute, that's the word, yeah.
yeah, $30.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
That's unless you're trying to really target their garbage or hoping someone will go over you, that's too small, right?
Yeah.
So what's this player? They're doing it into the queen turn. We got 9 hands on them. They're quite passive. No, you want to. I think you would still want to go bigger on this, even though they're quite passive, because they're passive, so they're not going to raise you. And if they have an ace, I still don't know if they find the fold. So yeah, you bet your equity in theory, which is bigger.
And this guy is being careful. He is not. he's
Yeah.
not-
Which is understandable. And they've given it to him. So oh, it's a shame for those fives. Those fives should have gone a bit bigger, and it's a shame for the Queen of Hearts because they
Yeah.
played too slow.
Yeah, so we've got the Queen Jack here, raises, pocket fives, call. Flop is ace, 5-8. Check range as the peak is like to do. All right, let's see these flushes. Yep, the flushes do a lot of checking back. There are flushes all over the check back range, including nut flushes. The king six doesn't slow play because it unblocks all of the queen, jack, and 10 flushes with all their kickers. This one makes it harder for them to have a flush that's decent. So he has to check more. The king, queen. I mean, so he can't check. So yeah, yeah, there we go. Yeah, he has to check king, jack, checks a little more than that. Is that true? Check 17% with a flush. Check 19%. Close enough. Check 18%. King six, check never. Okay. So he elects for the check. And after the check, when we have the ace of who cares, it doesn't matter. Now our pocket fives mostly wake up and bet. But they do a fair amount of checking there for, I assume now, to try for a check raise. But when we bet, the bet size is getting you guys out of the way. $9.8. So over pot with the fives, targeting aces. You know, there is a little bit of these other sizes like 3.9 and stuff. They exist, but it prefers to go for the big one. He went for the 3.9. He went for the equivalent of 3.9. And now your flushes. Under the gun never raises anything. There's no raising here. So when you take the check line, if that's how consistent you are, that you don't raise sets, you don't raise the nut flush, you just call. So did that answer a little bit of a question there, Richie?
Yeah, a little bit. It seems like with the ace, both of them play safer, right? Because they both don't, based on their actions pre-flop, don't have nut advantage, right? They both could potentially be cooled by something now, so they seem to both play a bit safer, it feels like.
But also in that idea of when they check their strong hands and their
Yeah.
weak hands, when he bets out there, they just don't raise. There just aren't any raises at all.
Yeah.
Because the weak hands don't want to raise and the strong hands, for a different reason, don't want to raise.
Yeah, true. Sorry, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, makes sense.
Right.
If someone's betting into you and you're in position, just let them keep betting into you. Because
And
you're
then-
getting value off worse and you're protecting yourself against better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And So much so that on the river, the big blind bets range.
Okay.
Everything he thought was worth betting before, he stays in with and bets it. He bluffs, he bluffs the miss straight here. Sorry, this is not a miss straight. This is a straight. He bluffs the little bit of paired 8 that he has. His king 9, these are all flushes. But when you don't have them, you bluff them. There you go. And his bet size was pot, basically. And against that size, there, bet. The queen jack flush just calls. You need a full house. Because the nut flushes don't even raise, much less the queen high. All right. That was Richie. We are on to skate. And hopefully this will be on my hand, and this will be the last hand of the session.
All right, so this is me.
Yep, this is
All right.
you. And oh, I'm in the hand. All right, good. This will be the last hand of the session. I'm in it. All right.
Already done.
You got a limp?
Yep. Okay, so you have 9s in the small blind, and you have kind of smallish ISO from the cutoff. I imagine you're gonna. I imagine here you're going to. I don't. It's kind of low to re-ISO, right?
What would you do, Skate?
Um.
Look at stack
Here-
sizes too.
Yeah. Okay. So here, let's see what I would. Okay. So got an ISO and then a call from the button against one player. Then I'm here with 9s. I would probably think about 3-betting would I versus cutoff. I think it's reasonable. I think we could 3-bet. Yeah.
So squeeze is fine. I think I'm not, I don't remember the hand, but I expect I'm not gonna do it because he's 180 deep. And so because we're very deep, 9s become more and more of a drawing hand the deeper you get.
Yeah. Pairs. The deeper you get, the less valuable they become. I don't know if I said that right.
Yep, well, let's see what I do. Yep.
Yep.
I know how, there's one player at the table who I know how he plays pretty often.
I want a counterpoint.
Yeah.
Because of your deeper stacks
Mm-hmm.
and the stats of this villain who has ISO'd, I would want to 3-bet this more than just flat it.
That's true. I think both those are my stack size because I want to, if I'm going to play out of position, I want the pot to be bigger. That makes sense. And he's playing too many hands. So I might be able to get through him.
Is there not much in it on what is the better play to, limp behind or to re-ISO, 3-bet? What's basically the better situation in this because you're deep stacked?
We're surmising. We don't know the answer and we can't look it
Okay.
up in solver because of this limp.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it depends on the qualities of your hand, the properties of your hand.
But
I mean, the
let's,
implied odds of his 9s are greater because they're deeper. So being thrown off the hand by a 4-bet would suck.
Yeah.
But,
So I just checked 200, where if we remove the limper, cutoff opens to 3 because we don't have the ISO range, and this is on GTO. button calls the three, again, 200 big blinds each. Small blind with nines, mixes, it's 58% call, 42% raise to 18.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's a very hard, if you get called, it's a very hard hand.
Yeah.
Barring the 13% of the time you get a 9 to play out of position, so. I
I
think
think once you
batting
call
is
it, I
fine,
think
but
that,
we
Sorry,
can
what
see
was
it's doing
saying?
both. I mean, it's like, the solver is like, well, both options are worth the same, so.
yeah.
Richie, change it to 100 big blinds and see how that affects
Oh,
our
I just
decision.
realized I've done this on live 10%, but I think that's only how you can do 200, is it? I can't remember. Change it
There's
to 100
200
big
for
blinds.
6 max, I think.
Is it? Shall I go to 6 max normal? Yeah, you're right.
And while you're
550
doing that, let me,
NL.
yeah, so yeah, while you're setting that up, let me point this out, why I think that Mike is more right than I was. So the answer is both are right, it mixes. But if you look at the difference at 100 big blinds, it's 59-41 in favor of raising. So raising is preferred, but they're, the same, they're the same EV. They're both good, does it a little bit more. But as you move up to 200 big blinds, the ratio increases in the betting. So that point of is more compelling than the thing that I said, that the increasing pot size increased the raise, and therefore my logic was faulty. And I think Mike was more right than me. And-
Consider this day a win.
Yes, exactly. And the only thing about it is, though, and both are still perfectly good sound strategies, and this is the one that I chose this time. All right, moving on. Skate. Oh, did you get an answer, Richie, from the wizard instead of from Peak that was different?
Yeah, so if I changed to 6 max and kept it at 200 big blinds, it would only allow me to do a 2.5 big open, and it was the same percentage roughly, slightly favored calling over raising ever so slightly. Then if I dropped it to 100 big blinds, it favors raising over calling, so it goes 60% raising, 40% calling.
Oh, so Mike is wrong, and I was completely right in every way.
I could share it if you want, if it's
Oh,
easier,
yeah.
but
Well, if it's going to show me to be right, then we're absolutely going to share it. Yeah.
in case I did something wrong and anyone wants me to change anything, I'm happy to share it.
And Mike, why don't you take a look at one other thing? Take a look at 4 big blind opens.
Let me share. Sorry, oops, I pressed the wrong button there. There we go. Share that. So this is, let me make it bigger. Sorry, I've got it split screen. So classic 6 max, 50 NL, 2 big blind open, cut off, call, and then it's 60-40. And then if I change it to 200 big blinds, it's, yeah, slightly favors call.
Okay. So this one is pushing, so it pushes in the opposite direction. So I think we don't have a useful heuristic, but it would be worth doing one other thing just for fun. Mike, take a look at what this looks like at 4 big opens, because that's what it actually is after the ISO.
Okay. Or Richie, if you got it up there, do you
Oh,
have the 4 big blind 8 max?
8 max, is it?
Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
You do.
Okay.
Good.
And which do I do live or do I do chip EV?
Live would be more appropriate.
Live. Okay, so
for
raise 4,
online.
call, small bigs. There's some folding going in now.
Yep.
And it is,
Oh, I'm not folding.
wow, it's raising a lot bigger. So yeah.
Yep. So
And then go to 100 big
I'm gonna go to
blind.
100 and see how that changes. So it was, what were the numbers? 40-30? Raise it with
40-30, yeah.
40-30.
And then 100 bigs, still 4 open. Oh, okay. Nines. So it removes the folding and it goes calling. Okay.
Yep. It raises less. Okay. There we go.
So basically, if you're deeper stacked, like the raising stays about the same, right? Around 40, but the calling then splits into call fold.
Yeah, you're still at CEV though. You're still at chip EV though.
Oh,
Yeah.
was I on chip EV on the last one as well? Sorry.
Oh, that would have, if when you changed it, it did
I'll,
that.
I'll
But I
double
think
check.
the answer we've gotten is that we don't know. And
Okay.
that, and there may not be a real answer to it, given the way the different tools are giving a slightly different answer. But what we do know is there are two competing, it's what Larry calls strategic tension. There is that what we've discovered is we've gone the long way to discover there is strategic tension.
Okay.
So it is mixing fold at 200 and at 100?
Yeah, so, when I switch to 100, it switched to chip EV. But if I move it back to live, it is still so it removes the raise when it's 100 and is purely call or fold. Where if
Yeah.
it's 200, again with rake, not chip EV, it's mixing in raising.
Okay,
Yeah.
and does it show
with
you?
with that in mind, that supports Michael. So that's two tools in favor of Mike.
Can you see like the EV of anything of like one at 100 or one at 200?
Yeah, change it to strategy plus EV, and you're going to see they're all going to be the same, or else it wouldn't. They're going to be really close, or it doesn't do it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So. Okay, that makes kind of sense. Well,
Yeah, but let's take a look at it. So go into the tab to the left where it says strategy and change that to strategy plus EV. And now click on that and you'll see. Oh, it's not giving you the.
Minus 0.1.
Oh, but here we go. When you look over here, it shows you the fold is 0, the call is 0. That's weird. Yeah, so it does have some difference. The raise is slightly positive and the call is slightly negative, but those numbers have got to be wrong or else it wouldn't let you do it, we would think. Or it had, or
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
But I got to tell you that in your hand, Scotty, that one player who ISO'd,
Yeah.
I think really bumps it up to go ahead and 3-bet it now.
Because their range is so large, is it?
That's what I think.
Wow, and they've got 68 hands as well with a large range. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good, but now I'm going to argue a little different thing. This is a guy who has limps in his range. He's willing to limp behind. So he's pushed up, his range is strengthened by the fact that he has limps. So he's a 56 player, but he's still only raising 23% of hands, which is not a crazy big number.
3
Right.
bets, 9%, 4 bets. 4 bets, 25%. How many hands is that? Just
Yeah.
one. Okay, that makes sense.
Chance to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want, this will tell us what his 4-bet range was. 4-bet range, well, it was ace 10. So
What's the 3-bet fold is 25%, but how many hands has he been 3-bet when he's been initial raise?
3-bet fold.
What's that? Does it say how many hands?
Let's see where it is.
That one by there, is it? F3B25. That's only one hand.
It
Okay.
happened one.
1 in 4.
Yeah, 1 in 4. Oh yeah, so it happened 4 times. Yeah, there you go. Right, or else we wouldn't get to 25. So yeah, I think I'm starting to think raise is the best. Let's find out. Now let's play the hand out, then we'll find out. All right, there we go. And he calls on. We have to check. And this is your hand, Skate.
Yeah.
We all
So
your hand from you.
I think as we saw from Solver that Jacks was the preferred hand to 3-bet pre.
Yep. So here I am.
Okay. Here we are as the caller pre-flop. All right. The 10. You have the 10 there, which is an overpair to your 9. So could be likely that any player here has a 10. So especially 65, maybe even 68. So let's check.
So it goes to there. He bets
Yeah.
small.
Okay, he bets small. I don't think we could fold yet on the flop. It's kind of too nitty to fold as of now. So let's call. All right.
Things have just changed when this guy called behind.
Yes, when he calls, it's our hand is how can I say, not as valuable. All
Shit,
right.
our hand is shit.
Yeah. All right, here we picked up a little bit of equity, but still not the best hand. So let's check again. 65, he's gonna check. 67. Okay, now this is pretty strong. Now when two players have called
Mm-hmm.
and we have a follow-up bet, this is so like I think it's pretty strong multi-way. When you see this is what I'm thinking. Nines here. Fold.
Yep, gotta fold. All right. Now, the comedy of the whole thing is for our last hand of the night.
They have 7 deuce. Base 4, obviously. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hero.
7 deuce.
Hero.
Jeez.
All right.
So Mike, shout out to Mike, his read was right.
Yeah.
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 Well,
true.
of course they can still have aces and they can still have kings and
But they do have this.
So in regards to yours, Mike, which makes sense, especially obviously we've seen the hand, by doing the raise, you're kicking out the limper, which is probably even wider. But the positive is you're probably isolating yourself to either, well, you're either stealing the whole pot pre-flop, which is good, or you potentially icing yourself to just heads up with one wider range person, which I assume is better than being multi-way against 2 to 3 wide. Well, 2, yeah, it'd be 4-way wide, wouldn't it? 4-way it was.
yeah, for sure. And I just think you're miles ahead of his range pre-flop there. That I think it's good to re-ISO somebody like that. And yeah, going 4-way with nines out of position is kind of a bad scenario.
Yep, I think so.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense.
And this
So you,
and just this convinces me even more of your rightness.
so the 20 big blinds, if we go back pre-flop, sorry, what was the 20 big blinds in relative to pot? 17? So you're basically betting just over pot, is it? No,
Yeah, so
sorry.
I'm gonna
20.
go 12, 16, 17, 18, plus 4 more. So I'm going 22.
22.
And you could even conceivably argue to go bigger because of your deep stacks.
Yep, I can go 25 happily.
25.
Ooh,
Okay.
Richie, do you still have it up? What's the recommended size in Wizard? What's their
Do you want to share again, just so I don't make a mistake? Do you want
Yep.
me to share? So I am still 200, yeah, and I'm still live cash 4-4, and then 25 it said. But we don't have the limper here, so there's only one big blind difference / one extra player, but we don't have the limper here, and it says 25,
Okay, yeah.
which kind of lines up with obviously what you said, Scotty, as well. So if we did do this, I'm wondering what, in theory, I know this person has a wider range, but what is the cutoffs potentially calling queens,
He's
jacks?
folding a lot.
Yeah, he is folding a lot, to be fair. And obviously, if they have a wider range than this and are willing to fold, then yeah, it is profitable. Are any of you curious what if we went down this route and then they called rather, because obviously if they had stronger hands, they're usually going to go over with these and we would just fold our nines. But if they call and that flop comes as it is, are you interested to see? Oh no, we can't do this. Sorry, don't have AI.
Right.
Yeah, Scotty, so what was the flop? 10 high, right?
Flop was 10 high, yeah.
10-8 something? Do you
Flop
remember?
was 10,
Yeah,
10 do 6.
Oh, 10 do 6. Oh yeah. No, I would be c betting. I'd check probably strategy for me would be I would probably c bet very frequently. And I might even go a little on the larger side as opposed to the standard B25 or B33. I'd probably go B50.
All right.
fair.
And if you get called, you're probably done.
Yeah, then we get called, depending on what kind of turn we're looking at. probably not going to be betting much after that.
We saw the turn as well, right? What was the
Eight of
turn?
hearts. 8 of hearts on the turn.
Eight of hearts.
That's actually not a terrible card, I don't think.
Oh, it doesn't bring in any of his overcards, and it gives us an emergency straight draw.
Yeah. Reasonable.
Right?
Cool. No, makes sense.
There we go.
I think a good one to end on.
Yeah, that's the one we will end on. And tomorrow, I think I might be able to drop in, later, but I won't be there for the regular time.
Do you want me to open up the?
Yeah.
Session? Okay.
Yep, plan on doing that. And if I time it right, what I'll do, Larry, is I'll open the room for you so you can come in as yourself, but I won't be with you guys. I'm gonna go have dinner after that.
Okay.
Okay, super fun.
Thank you very much for the session, as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys.
I just got a question before. I don't know. You can end the recording if you haven't already, but I just am unstudied in it. I need to study it, and I'm wondering if any of you got quick tips. 200 big blinds online, obviously, where you've built your stack up, and then you come up against an opponent who's built your stack up. Doesn't matter, I guess, if they're loose, who've just gotten lucky, or if they're a reg. How do you tend to play those type of 200? Have you done much studying at those 200 stacks?
So I've done a little bit. I mean, what really have to be aware of is how the properties of different hands change. For instance, implied odds hands that you can play for stacks go up, whereas high cards like ace queen, ace jack, they go down.
Okay.
And you can kind of see that by looking at what happens pre-flop and understanding how the shape of our ranges change.
And the other thing is your stack off threshold increases a lot, a fucking lot.
What does that mean, stack off threshold?
Meaning, I'll exaggerate it. At 20 big blinds or 30 big blinds and you have pocket aces, you don't fold. If someone check raises you all in on the flop, you call. If the flop comes monotone, you might call off aces even without the ace of the suit. You might. At 20 big, I mean, certainly at 20 you will, right? And at 100 you won't.
Okay.
At 200, you're going to be folding some 2 pairs on the river to real aggression.
Okay, so it kind of obvious when you say it. So you need higher equity value hands to play for stacks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And
no, it's kind of obvious when you say it like that. Yeah.
Right, because the idea is 200 big blinds is twice as many as 100. I know that sounds like I'm saying math stupidly, but it's a big difference of not in how all the poker's played, but just that of how much you're risking. So you're playing along, but when all 200 go in, a hand that you might, the hand that you would call off at 20, that you might mix at 100, you're folding at 200.
Okay. No, makes sense. That's good to know. That's some good tips about studying too much. I need to study it more. Have you ever done a group session of studying 200 big blind hands?
But we can do that either tomorrow or next week. The thing I've done is I have not done any specific to 200 studying. I've just applied the basic heuristics that we know like this to thinking about 200, but I haven't studied at it at all.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do that.
Are we still recording?
We are. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Say the thing before we stop recording. Skate.
Okay, I'll say it, but I also demand that we study more 200 big blind plus.
Okay.
Please, if you don't mind.
We'll do that.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so thank you everyone for the session, especially Scotty and Larry. I will see you all tomorrow, right? Tuesday. And also, by the way, may the poker gods be with you all.